Chapter 3169. When Little Seven and Night Sorrow first met, Night Sorrow was still very weak and could not withstand a single blow from him. But now Night Sorrow had advanced to Middle Earthly Sovereign, and his divine weapon, Golden Heavenly Halberd, had also advanced to Heavenly Sovereign. And he and Little Nine were still Earthly Sovereign divine weapons, so he felt very disappointed. Therefore he wanted to quickly reunite with Little Eight and form a Heavenly Sovereign divine weapon, so that his existence would have more meaning. They all knew that Night Sorrow was doing something big to save the eternal supreme world. Brother Night Sorrow, how do you think the half-step to Supreme Realm Coiling Dragon Spear and Supreme Longevity will integrate the eternal supreme world? After following Night Sorrow out of Lutian Academy, Baimei Sanren asked curiously. I'm not sure, but I believe that the two seniors will not disappoint. Night Sorrow said, then continued, speaking of which, my mission is to kill the holy lords of the four great sanctuaries. If they do not have the determination to protect the eternal supreme world, I don't mind killing one of them. Then why don't we go back and take a look, then come back? Baimei Sanren was eager to try. He knew that in the foggy area, one's strength would increase faster than in the eternal supreme world. But he wanted to go back and see if Yen had appeared. This was the greatest hope in his heart. After all, he had followed Yen for many years in his previous life. Since brother has spoken, after we find Little Eight, we will return to the eternal supreme world and take a look. When the situation there is stable, we will bring you back. After hearing Baimei Sanren's words, Night Sorrow was also worried about Supreme Longevity, Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei, and the others. He knew that as long as they were integrated, there would be battles and killings. If there were battles and killings, there would be deaths. It was very cruel. He wanted to bring Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei, and the other friends who had fought with him to the foggy area to cultivate. After all, in the eternal supreme world, the speed of increasing one's strength was too slow and could not keep up with the pace. Okay, let's go back and take a look. I mainly want to see if Lord Yen has appeared. Baimei Sanren said with a smile. He missed her very much. Good. Let's go and investigate. Also, I want the Supreme Longevity to take a look at the ancient coffin in my space. Although he might not be able to open it, his knowledge will definitely surpass mine. Night Sorrow said and brought Baimei Sanren and the rest to Shri City. Using the teleportation formation, he teleported to Qianshuang City and then to Sea Dragon City where Little Eight was. This Sea Dragon City was backed by a black sea of evil. There were many evil sea dragons in the sea. These sea dragons were natives of the foggy region. They were extremely ferocious and warlike. Only in this Sea Dragon City could they live in peace with cultivators and trade with the things in the Sea of Evil. These sea dragons look very similar to true dragons, but their auras are too evil. Their murderous aura is even stronger than that of ordinary cultivators in the foggy region. Walking side by side with Night Sorrow in Sea Dragon City, Baimei Sanren felt uncomfortable being suppressed by their auras after encountering a few sea dragons. He could not help but complain. Maybe it's because these sea dragons have been living in the Sea of Evil for a long time. Night Sorrow, who had also checked the sea dragons' auras, said. The auras of these sea dragons were dozens of times more evil than the stone spirits he encountered in the battlefield of Shri City. This meant that these sea dragons were extremely violent and aggressive. Then he continued, but this is not important. Let's go to the center of the city to look for Little Eight. According to the clues provided by Little Nine, Little Eight should be in the center of Sea Dragon City. If one paid a fee, they could cultivate there. Therefore, according to Night Sorrow's judgment, it was not difficult to enter Little Eight. If he wanted to merge with Little Seven and Little Nine, he only needed to use the power of merit to purify him. However, when Night Sorrow and the rest came to the center of the city to ask around, they were completely speechless. It turned out that Little Eight had been swapped by the Upper Heavenly Sovereign, the Sea Dragon King, and brought to the Sea of Evil. He had been placed in the city of the Sea of Evil. I wonder if we can go to the city of the Sea of Evil? After inquiring about Little Eight, Yishang took out some resources and handed them to the cultivator he was holding back before continuing to ask. The cultivator who had been questioned was very impatient, but when he saw that Night Sorrow had taken out a lot of resources, he immediately smiled and said, if you want to go to Sea Dragon City to trade, you will have the chance. But you have to go with the team from the city governor's mansion. Otherwise, once you enter, you will be attacked. The Sea Dragon clan has hundreds of thousands of people, and every one of them is very powerful. There is no chance to barge in. Then how can we join the team from the city governor's mansion? Night Sorrow asked. He believed that the resources he had given were enough, so the other party would not be impatient immediately. Hearing this, the male cultivator suddenly said, "Don't tell me you are interested in the eternal demon tower? That thing can't be snatched. Otherwise you will definitely be killed by the sea dragons." Hehe, of course we don't want to snatch it. We just want to go and take a look. After all, it is the legendary supreme divine artifact. Night Sorrow said with a look of anticipation. Seeing Night Sorrow's expression, the male cultivator was speechless. To tell you the truth, that is only a part of the eternal demon tower. It is not precious at all. If it is really a supreme divine artifact, why would the city governor give it to the Sea Dragon King? That's true. I won't look. Night Sorrow nodded and did not continue to entangle with the male cultivator. Instead, he found another female cultivator and handed over some resources. He asked, "May I know how to join the city governor's mansion?" If you want to join the city governor's mansion, it is very simple. Just sign up and pass the assessment. After the female cultivator saw the resources in her hand, she immediately led Night Sorrow and the rest to a building outside the city governor's mansion. At this time, there were cultivators lining up to sign up in the building. Obviously, they all wanted to join the city governor's mansion. Let's sign up first and enter the city governor's mansion. Let's see if we can follow them into the Sea of Evil. Night Sorrow sent a message to Baimei Sanrin and joined him in the queue to sign up. After signing up, the two of them each received a voice transmission stone and found an inn to rest. 3 days later, Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanrin received a notice to go to the city governor's mansion to participate in the assessment. The assessment was very simple. It was to defeat an ordinary lower earthly sovereign. For Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanrin, this was not difficult at all. After passing the assessment, the two of them, along with other cultivators who had passed the assessment, were brought to the city governor's mansion's military camp. After entering the military camp, more than 20 cultivators who had just joined were immediately gathered together. Then, the 4 centurions in the military camp appeared one after another and started to select people. Obviously, they were preparing to add them to their own team. Clan. Chapter 3170. Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanrin were not peak earthly sovereigns. Among the 20 or so newly joined cultivators, their realms were below average. Therefore they were selected later on. Baimei Sanrin was selected to join a team of centurions called Black Revelation. Then he was separated from Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow joined a team of centurions called Yunyi. Their team had lost a lot of members during the battle. After adding Night Sorrow and 7 other cultivators, they barely made up 100 people. In this team, Centurion Yunyi was a middle heavenly sovereign. His strength was not bad. As for the Decurions, they were all half-step heavenly sovereigns. There was a certain gap between them and Yunyi. After Night Sorrow and the rest were brought back to the station, Yunyi ordered a Decurion to explain the rules to them. Everyone who joined the city governor's mansion was basically a mercenary. Therefore they would receive a corresponding reward every time they went to war. On normal days, the city governor's mansion's garrison was mainly responsible for maintaining the stability of Sea Dragon City and the surrounding areas. Occasionally, they would go to eliminate some troublemaking tribes near Sea Dragon City. Another reason was that they would accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil periodically to conduct some transactions. Lord Yunyi, we still have to accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil. Won't we be attacked by the sea dragons there? After Yunyi finished speaking, he asked everyone to ask questions. Night Sorrow pretended to be puzzled. Don't worry. Although the sea dragons are all very violent, they still abide by some rules. We will accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil mainly to conduct battles and transactions. The few who participate in the battles may be in danger of dying, but the rest will be safe. Centurion Yunyi was quite easygoing. After Night Sorrow asked his question, he began to explain. After explaining this, he suddenly said, "That's right. Every time we go to the Sea of Evil for a battle, we will select 16 people to fight. Every team of 100 must choose 4 people to fight. This is a mission and also an opportunity. Whoever wins the battle will receive an extremely generous reward. If any of you are interested, you can tell me in advance." Lord Yunyi, when will we go to the Sea of Evil? What's the reward for fighting the sea dragon? This time, Night Sorrow didn't continue speaking, but a new cultivator asked. They were different from Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's goal was to search for the 8th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, while they were all here for resources. Naturally, he was very interested in such matters. City Lord, we go to the Sea of Evil once every 100 years. There are still 40 years before the next trip. After Centurion Yunyi finished speaking, he continued, The The rules of the battle are like this. No matter what level of cultivation we send out, the Sea of Evil will send out a sea dragon of the same level. Generally speaking, sea dragons of the same realm are stronger than us. Therefore, the City Lord's mansion's winning rate every year was not high. Only about 20% to 30%. Thus, the City Lord will not only reward cultivators with large amounts of resources, but will also place them in important positions. After he finished speaking, he added, even if you are defeated in a duel, as long as you are not killed, you will be heavily groomed when you return. To encourage everyone to participate in the battle against the sea dragon. It seems that the sea dragon is not easy to deal with. After Centurion Yunyi finished speaking, the new cultivators began to whisper among themselves. Since they were all mercenaries, there weren't many rules. Yunyi was very easygoing and didn't interrupt them. After they finished their discussion, he explained to them what they needed to do on a daily basis. Then he assigned them to a decurion who was short of manpower. ****. Why did he assign me a middle earthly sovereign this time? What is Lord Yunyi thinking? I have always been filial to him on a daily basis. After Night Sorrow was assigned to a decurion called War Demon, he reported to the City Lord. The decurion, War Demon, who was drinking in the barracks, immediately said unhappily. Then he ignored Night Sorrow and continued to drink with his 3 subordinates. After waiting for about an hour, they were still drinking. Night Sorrow asked with a smile, "Decurion, I am here. Are you going to accept me or not?" ****. We are drinking, you don't have the chance to talk nonsense. Slap yourself or else I'll tear your head apart. War Demon immediately roared when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Night Sorrow was immediately angered by his words. He sneered and said, "What do you mean by slap myself? I don't understand. Why don't you demonstrate?" The other party was refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Yi Shang felt that there was no need to be polite with such a person. "Oh my! You trash, you have quite a temper. Jiamao, go and destroy his Dantian." After Night Sorrow spoke, War Demon immediately looked at a cultivator beside him. "Lord War Demon, Lord Yunyi just sent him here. It's not good to destroy him directly, is it?" Jiamao said hesitantly after War Demon finished speaking. He was an upper earthly sovereign and was confident in his own strength, but he was afraid of offending Yunyi. "Lord Yunyi, I don't care about such things. Go ahead and do it. Even if something happens, I will take care of it," War Demon said indifferently. He knew that Yunyi was a good person who wouldn't offend anyone. "Okay. Since Lord War Demon has said so, I will take action," Jiamao replied, then looked at Night Sorrow and said, "What an arrogant newcomer. The price you will pay for your arrogance is your Dantian being destroyed. According to Lord Yunyi, joining the City Lord Mansion is just a mercenary. You want to destroy him just because of a disagreement? How ruthless." Night Sorrow looked at Jiamao with disdain. To him, fighting a lower heavenly sovereign was a piece of cake, let alone an upper earthly sovereign. Looking at Jiamao's confident look, he wanted to laugh. "Ah, you are really a rookie. In this foggy area there are fights everywhere. Where there are fights, there are casualties. What is this?" Jiamao, who was laughing, drank to the point. Even though he was speaking from a distance, the smell of alcohol could be felt. It made people feel nauseous. He roared and threw a punch at Night Sorrow. This punch was not a threat to Yi Shang, but even an ordinary middle earthly sovereign would be able to withstand it. Therefore, Night Sorrow casually threw a punch and sent him flying back. "Bastard! How dare you fight back?" Jiamao, who had been thrown back, felt some injuries in his body. In his anger, he was half sober. He then took out a light sword and said, "Do you dare to fight with me outside? I don't want to break this barack." "No need. You don't have that ability." Facing Night Sorrow, who was facing Jiamao, he snorted coldly in response. Hearing this, Jiamao was furious and said, "Arrogant." He immediately displayed his unique skill in the barack. All-directional quaking sword. Clang. Chapter 3171. When Jiamao executed the Shifang Domain Quake Sword, it immediately stirred up a huge commotion in the barracks. Logically speaking, under such a situation the barracks would definitely be destroyed. No matter how sturdy the barracks were, it was still used for living. It couldn't be as sturdy as a divine weapon. However, right after he made his move, Night Sorrow immediately struck with the Eternal Reincarnation Spear. As soon as this move was executed, Jiamao, who wasn't very strong to begin with, was immediately fixed on the spot. The move that he was halfway through immediately vanished into thin air. I told you not to go out. Night Sorrow, who had casually suppressed the aftermath of Jia Mao's attack, said coldly after capturing him. Jia Mao had never thought that he would be captured in one move. He felt that it was because he had been careless. He was very unconvinced, but he couldn't find an excuse to say something. So you're an expert who can fight above your level. The war demon, who had been drinking wine, immediately became interested when he saw Night Sorrow defeat Jia Mao so easily. He said, very good. I, the war demon, lack someone like you under my command. Let go of Jia Mao. You're my man from now on. Who are you calling me your father, with? If I remember correctly, you were the one who wanted to destroy my Dantian. The war demon, who was a Decurion, wanted to reconcile. However, Night Sorrow didn't indulge him at all. He coldly retorted. What? I gave you face, but you don't know what's good for you? After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the war demon immediately stood up and said furiously, since you want your Dantian to be destroyed, come on then. As he spoke, he gave a look to his left and right, signaling the two people beside him to attack together. It seems that this barracks is destined to be destroyed today. Night Sorrow, who was looking at the war demon and the other two cultivators, released his spirit power and scanned the surroundings. If they started fighting now, Centurion Yunyi would definitely be alerted. He didn't think there was anything wrong with that. Then he faced the war devil and the others and started to fight them. Although Night Sorrow was only a middle earthly sovereign, he could already fight with a heavenly sovereign. As such, war demon, a half-step heavenly sovereign, and the other two upper earthly sovereigns were naturally no match for him. Not long after that, he defeated the war devil and the others. After being controlled, the war devil and the others sobered up and realized the severity of the situation. He immediately sent a voice transmission to Yunyi, asking him to take charge of the situation. But Yi Shang didn't kill them because he knew that Yunyi was watching the battle in front of him. War demon. What's going on with you guys? Yunyi asked gloomily as he hovered in the air. He was usually very easygoing, but at this moment he was somewhat dignified. Reporting to Centurion, this newcomer challenged us as soon as he was assigned here. We couldn't bear to be humiliated, so we fought with him. I didn't expect that I would be no match for him. After Yunyi said that, the war devil twisted his words and forced logic. Night demon, is that what happened? Upon hearing the war demon's words, Yunyi immediately looked at Night Sorrow. If you're weak, you'll be beaten. Night Sorrow didn't explain the matter. Instead he said casually, ah, good. Well said, the cause and effect of this matter isn't important. What's important is whose fist is harder. Upon hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yunyi smiled. Since the Night Demon won, he'll be the Centurion from now on. As for the War Devil, he'll serve him in the future. As for how the matter between you two will be resolved, I don't care. After saying that, he flew away, no longer caring about the matter. However, Yunyi didn't fly far before he sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Night Demon. You must go to the Sea of Evil in a few decades. If you can defeat the Sea Dragon, you'll be rewarded handsomely. Alright, I'll think about it. Night Sorrow replied to Yunyi. Then he looked at the War Devil and the others and said, summon all my subordinates. Yes. The War Devil was stunned at first. Then, he somewhat reluctantly summoned his subordinates. However, he knew that everyone, including himself, would be Night Sorrow's subordinates in the future. He couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He secretly lamented that he had been too rash today. From today onwards, I'll be your Centurion. After the War Devil gathered everyone, Night Sorrow immediately made them stand in a row and announced. Regarding this matter, these people had already received the voice transmission. Therefore, none of them showed any surprise. Seeing that no one had any intention of refuting, Night Sorrow looked at the War Devil and said, from now on, the War Devil will be our team's vice-captain. The daily affairs will be arranged by the War Devil. Thank you, Captain. When the War Devil heard this arrangement, he immediately became spirited. Then Night Sorrow continued, arrange a place for me to stay. If there's nothing else, don't disturb my cultivation. Also, I have a friend called White Brows. He's been assigned to Centurion Black Flag's subordinate. Help me find out more about him. Captain, leave this matter to me. I'm very popular and I know people over there. As soon as Yi Shang finished speaking, the War Devil immediately patted its chest and bowed to Yi Shang. What a coward who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Although Night Sorrow despised such an existence, he understood that some of the daily affairs still needed the other party to handle. Therefore, he didn't bother too much about today's matter. Then he was brought to his residence by the war devil. This was a group of courtyards that occupied an area of 100,000 miles. There were mountains and rivers as well as some ferocious beasts. These ferocious beasts looked very ferocious on the surface, but like domestic dogs, they were used to guard the courtyard. When Night Sorrow took over this courtyard, they also began to pledge their loyalty to him. In the next few months, Night Sorrow had been cultivating in the courtyard, absorbing all kinds of resources. The daily affairs were left to the war devil to handle. As for Baime Sanrin, the war devil had already inquired about him and had followed a centurion to fight. Until a year after Night Sorrow had joined the city lord's mansion, the war devil suddenly came to his courtyard. He said urgently, "Lord Night Devil, a month ago I led a small team to carry out a mission. But we encountered a strong enemy, and I was the only one who escaped. Please go and rescue them, Lord." "Oh, how many enemies? What's their strength?" The moment the war devil said this, Night Sorrow was somewhat suspicious. He wondered if the war devil was setting him up. However, after the war devil told him everything and swore a heavenly oath, he was completely sure that the other party was not lying. The situation was like this. The war devil led a small team to carry out a mission, and everything was going smoothly. But after completing the city lord's mansion's mission, they unexpectedly encountered a sea dragon in the wilderness. This sea dragon was in the same realm as the war devil, but its strength was obviously much stronger than his. When they fought, it quickly gained the upper hand. "I'll go with you to rescue them." After hearing the story, he immediately said, "Clan." Chapter 3172. How much time has passed since you escaped from the battlefield? Is your opponent that sea dragon? After leaving the governor's mansion, Night Sorrow asked. He felt that if it was just a half-step heavenly sovereign sea dragon, he could defeat all 9 of his subordinates. This kind of strength was a little too strong. "Reporting to my lord, less than 4 hours have passed. Our opponent is indeed one person. He seems to be a royal of the Sea Dragon clan. He is very powerful. If he goes up against us, it will be like you going up against Jia Mao." The war demon explained, then continued, "However, if my lord and I fight together, he will definitely not be our match." "All right. Since you said so, I have a certain understanding of his strength. However, you may not be able to find out his true strength." Yi Shang didn't say anything else and let the war demon lead the way. When Night Sorrow and the war demon arrived, they found that Sea Dragon had not left at all. He was torturing Night Sorrow's subordinates. The 8 defeated cultivators all had their cultivations sealed. They knelt on the ground, kowtowing non-stop. Sea Dragon, who had transformed into a human, was saying something with a look of disdain. When Night Sorrow had discovered him, he had not sensed Night Sorrow at all. However, when the war demon reached a position where he could observe Sea Dragon, he immediately recognized Sea Dragon. Sea Dragon immediately discovered Night Sorrow and the war demon. Seeing that the war demon had only brought along a middle earthly sovereign, Night Sorrow, Sea Dragon Ao Lai immediately laughed arrogantly. "Ah, I thought you would bring some reinforcements. It turns out that you are a middle earthly sovereign. Your brain wasn't fried by my attack just now, right?" His brain shouldn't have been fried. What should have been fried is your mouth. These subordinates in front of him did not have much interaction with Night Sorrow, and Night Sorrow did not want to have a deep relationship with them either. However, when he saw that they were forced to kowtow to Sea Dragon in front of him, an inexplicable anger rose in his chest. As the saying goes, one should not go too far when killing someone. This Sea Dragon in front of him had gone too far. "You, my reinforcements, are quite confident. You dare to scold this prince? Let's see how many heads you have for me to cut off." Sea Dragon Ao Lai was extremely arrogant. After being reprimanded by Night Sorrow, he immediately flew into a rage. "You want to kill me? I'm afraid you don't have that ability." Facing the Night Sorrow of the Sea Dragon Ao Lai, he didn't think much of him. This was because Ao Lai looked like a half-step heavenly sovereign. According to his estimation, he shouldn't be that strong. "Ah, domineering. I like cultivators like you. When the time comes, I will make your head into a wine cup and use it to drink your blood." At this moment, Sea Dragon Ao Lai wasn't angry. Instead he laughed. Then he used his dragon claw to grab Night Sorrow, who was in the air. "My lord, you must be careful. This sea dragon was a member of the royal family and was not easy to deal with. Even if you can defeat him, you must remember not to kill him. Otherwise we'll be in big trouble." Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to fight the sea dragon, the war demon immediately warned him. The Sea Dragon Aolai had just addressed him as Prince, which meant that he was the Sea Dragon King's prince. If he killed him, the Sea Dragon King would definitely be enraged. At that time, the entire Sea Dragon City would be attacked. Don't worry. I'm confident that I can take care of him, Night Sorrow replied to the war demon. Then he opened the Sea Dragon's eye and observed Aolai's attack. Aolai's claw looked simple, but it contained some mysterious runes. One look and one could tell that it wasn't simple. If it was a normal attack, it would be a huge mistake. It could be seen that the Sea Dragon Aolai, who looked arrogant on the surface, had no intention of underestimating Night Sorrow when facing an enemy. Good move. However, this claw is nothing to me at all. Night Sorrow shouted as he faced Aolai's attack and threw out a punch. This punch contained a Dao that was similar to the Divine Finger. When it collided with the Sea Dragon Aolai's claw, the surrounding space was immediately destroyed. The shockwaves from the collision sent the kneeling cultivators flying. One could see how powerful it was. Looks like he had his reasons for asking you to come here. You're a good target for practice. When Sea Dragon Aolai saw the might of Night Sorrow's punch, he immediately laughed. I'm afraid you'll regret asking me to practice. Because after this battle, your confidence will be completely shattered. Seeing that the Sea Dragon Aolai still didn't think much of him, Night Sorrow immediately mocked him back. However, he also knew that the other party was the Sea Dragon King's son. He must have many tricks up his sleeve. Therefore, he didn't have the slightest bit of carelessness. You want to shatter my confidence? First, you'll have to ask if the divine weapon in my hand agrees. When the Sea Dragon Aolai heard Night Sorrow's words, he immediately took out a halberd and stood in the air. A heavenly supreme level halberd. The war demon exclaimed when he saw the Sea Dragon Aolai take out a heavenly supreme level halberd. He was extremely worried about Night Sorrow's situation. Although Night Sorrow had dealt with him before, they were now on the same side. Isn't it just a divine weapon? Which cultivator doesn't have a few? Seeing the Sea Dragon Aolai take out a heavenly supreme level halberd, Night Sorrow immediately took out his golden heavenly halberd. At the same time, he activated the Green Phoenix battle armor. These two items were both heavenly supreme level, and their grades were slightly higher than Aolai's Black Dragon halberd. Seeing these items, the Sea Dragon Aolai felt like he had been slapped in the face. He sneered and said, "Good, very good. All of your divine artifacts belong to me." After roaring, the Sea Dragon Aolai waved his halberd and slashed at Night Sorrow. You, a dragon, are using a halberd to fight against me? Where did you get your confidence from? Show me your true form. Facing the Sea Dragon Aolai's halberd, Night Sorrow, who was waving his golden heavenly halberd, didn't use any of his ultimate techniques and easily repelled it. In terms of strength, he had the complete advantage. Although the Sea Dragon Aolai's combat strength was not bad, and he was one of the best among those of the same level. However, facing a monster like Night Sorrow who could easily fight those of a higher level, he was nothing. You asked for it. After using the Black Dragon halberd to fight with Night Sorrow for a while, the Sea Dragon Aolai was indeed no match for Night Sorrow with his halberd. Suddenly, he transformed into a black dragon that was hundreds of feet long, and he suddenly spat out a black dragon breath at Night Sorrow. Sir, be careful. This is the Sea Dragon's unique black dragon breath. It is filled with an extremely evil aura of resentment. If you are hit by it, you will be filled with resentment. Seeing the Sea Dragon Aolai's breath, the war demon reminded him while dodging. Okay, I got it, replied Night Sorrow. He felt that the war demon was still reliable. Then he controlled the Green Phoenix battle armor and aimed it at the black dragon breath, spitting out fire essence. At the same time, he used the golden heavenly halberd to unleash the Raging Flames Demon Slayer. Facing the Sea Dragon Aolai, he didn't have any intention of dodging. He chose to take all of them head-on. Clank. Chapter 3173. Ignorant. How dare you use your ordinary fire to attack my black dragon's breath? Just wait for my wrath to engulf you. Aolai felt that Night Sorrow was too arrogant and overconfident when he saw that Night Sorrow had chosen to fight him head-on. His black dragon's breath was a unique skill of the evil sea dragons. It was extremely powerful. Your black dragon's breath is not as powerful as you think it is. Night Sorrow, who had chosen to fight him head-on, was still very confident. According to his judgment, the Flame Mountain's flame essence should not be inferior to Aolai's black dragon's breath. After all, it had a trace of destructive aura. Although Night Sorrow did not like Mia, his opponent was still an extreme state expert. Asterisk boom. Boom. Asterisk when the flame essence and fiery demons subduing flames came into contact with the black dragon's breath, there was a deafening explosion. Wave after wave of rumbling sounds were simply earth-shattering. After the flames had completely subsided, Aolai was dumbfounded when he saw that both sides had ended in a draw. He didn't expect that his innate unique skill would be blocked so easily. Even his confidence was shaken a little. You have some skills, but I will kill you today. At this moment, Aolai let out a loud roar and took out a dragon horn from his spatial artifact. He held it in his hand and blew. Then the dragon horn suddenly made a very strange sound. Hearing this sound, the war demon and the rest immediately hugged their heads and wailed. Night Sorrow was also very uncomfortable. Although he did not say anything, he felt like his head was about to explode. All of you enter my space grotto heaven. Seeing that his subordinates were basically lying on the ground and wailing in pain, Night Sorrow immediately shouted and kept them in his space grotto heaven. At this time he had tried a few methods, but he still could not break the attack of the dragon horn. Night Sorrow thought to himself, looks like it. Only by killing him or taking him down can I solve this problem. Thus, he endured the pain and activated the Treastrimsa battle mystic technique again. At the same time he activated the Green Phoenix battle armor and his bloodline power. Holding the golden heavenly halberd in his hand, he attacked Aolai with the godly spear. You want to kill me in an instant to break the attack of the dragon horn? Wishful thinking. Do you think you can kill me so easily? See, Dragon Aolai was no fool. He immediately saw through Night Sorrow's intentions. Facing Night Sorrow's attack, he suddenly took out a turtle shell from his spatial artifact and draped it over his body. Even though the attack hadn't reached him, Night Sorrow could feel that Aolai's defense had increased by more than 10 times. He has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. However, his strength is still a little lacking. When Night Sorrow saw Aolai summon his tortoise shell, he sneered and cast the Divine Origin trapping formation. It would bind the other party within, making it impossible for him to escape. Then he used the godly spear and fiercely bombarded the defensive layer provided by the turtle shell. After all, Night Sorrow had the advantage in terms of strength. The golden heavenly halberd was a pure heavenly sovereign divine artifact. Furthermore, the divine spear's attack was extremely powerful. It immediately blasted a crack through the tortoise shell's defense. Soon after, he violently bombarded the crack. Under Night Sorrow's continuous attacks, Aolai's tortoise shell quickly dimmed. He completely realized that Night Sorrow's strength was obviously stronger than he had imagined. In terms of strength, he was indeed no match for him. As for the war demon and the others who were in Night Sorrow's space paradise, they were very excited. They felt that Night Sorrow had helped them vent their anger. They were completely in awe of his strength. I have to admit that your strength is far beyond my imagination. However, the one who will die today is still you. Because you don't have what it takes to compete with me. Sea Dragon Aolai roared as he took out another dragon horn and blew on it again. This time the dragon horn was no longer an attack. Instead, it summoned an army of thousands of men and horses. These creatures should have come from the Sea of Evil. Among them, there was one lower heavenly sovereign and 3 half-step heavenly sovereigns. As for earthly sovereigns, there were about 30 of them. My lord, if we can't win, let's escape immediately. When the war demon in the space paradise saw Aolai summon so many helpers, he immediately transmitted his voice to him. Yishan replied, there's no rush. Let's see what they're capable of. If we can't win, it won't be too late to leave. Retreating before fighting is not my style. Alright. My lord, be careful. Hearing this, the war demon did not say anything else. Facing the sea tribe that Aolai had summoned, Night Sorrow did not retreat immediately. Instead, he adjusted his strength to the maximum and used the mysterious Azure Divine Spear technique to attack them directly. He first dealt with the earthly sovereigns of the sea tribe. In the face of his attack, the earthly sovereigns of the sea tribe were not even worth mentioning. Soon they were all annihilated. Aolai and the others wanted to protect the earthly sovereigns, but they were unable to do so. Seeing Night Sorrow kill so many of the sea tribe in front of them, Aolai was furious. Sea Dragon Aolai was completely enraged. He roared, kill? Let's attack together and kill him. Use your strongest techniques. Yes. Ninth Prince. The summoned heavenly sovereigns and the other 3 half-step heavenly sovereigns responded. They immediately prepared to attack. Not good. Sir, retreat quickly. They are using the superpower that the Sea Dragon clan obtained from the Eternal Sovereign Realm. The war demon reminded them again. He knew that Ao Lai and the others were using the territorial superpower that they had obtained from the Eternal Sovereign Realm. The Eternal Sovereign Realm's superpower? Hearing this, Night Sorrow did not have any intention of escaping. Instead, he became more interested. To him, the territorial superpower was very tempting. The thought of capturing one rose in his heart and learning the divine ability. Green Dragon illuminating the moon. At this moment, Ao Lai and the others roared in unison. The 5 of them simultaneously used the Green Dragon territory's superpower, Green Dragon illuminating the moon. In an instant, they all transformed into green dragons and attacked Night Sorrow. They are actually learning the Eternal Sovereign Realm's superpower? Ridiculous. Originally, Night Sorrow was still a little afraid of their superpower. But now he saw Ao Lai and the others transform into green dragons and attack him. He immediately understood that these creatures in the fog could not unleash the full power of their superpower. This must have something to do with their dark aura. It's good that I can kill you. In the face of Night Sorrow's mockery, Ao Lai roared and attacked Night Sorrow with the other cultivators who had transformed into green dragons. Want to kill me? You are not qualified. At this moment, Night Sorrow was only a little afraid of Ao Lai and the Heavenly Sovereign. As for the other 3 half-step Heavenly Sovereigns, he did not care at all. This was because ordinary half-step Heavenly Sovereigns could not withstand a single blow from him. After replying, he waved the golden heavenly halberd in his hand and fought with the dragons in the void. Clang. Chapter 3174. This Azure Dragon illuminating the moon was the ability of the Azure Dragon territory, and most of the people in the Azure Dragon territory were pure-blooded Azure Dragons. The sea dragons in front of him obviously did not use their strongest strength. However, these 5 dragons were still very strong when they joined forces. After Night Sorrow killed one of them, he felt that if the stalemate continued, he would need to use the power of merit. Therefore, after fighting for a while, he had the intention to leave. He felt that there was no need to expose his identity because of these dragons. After all, this place was very close to Sea Dragon City. If he attacked rashly, he might be noticed by the Sea Dragon City Lord. If his identity as an Eternal Supreme Realm expert was exposed, he would lose a lot for a small gain. Now is the time. We can leave now. After fighting for a while, Night Sorrow took the opportunity to use his movement technique to leave after injuring Ao Lai. His speed was faster than the few people in front of him, and he soon escaped far away. Escape? Where can you escape to? Seeing that Yishan had chosen to flee, Ao Lai instantly revealed a trace of a cold smile between his brows. After flying for about 20 breaths, Night Sorrow, who had opened the Sea Dragon Eye, suddenly found that there were 2 Sky Supreme Sea Dragons intercepting him on the way to Sea Dragon City. He immediately changed direction and flew in another direction. Sir, quickly send a voice transmission to Sir Yunyi and ask him to bring reinforcements. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to escape today. The war demon in the space grotto heaven immediately sent a voice transmission in fear when he saw 2 more Sky Supreme Sea Dragons. No need for reinforcements. We can deal with these people in front of us. Night Sorrow, who was being chased, saw that these sea dragons were chasing him relentlessly and understood that they were prepared to kill him. He immediately became angry. He thought to himself, "You asked for it." Then he ignited his bloodline and increased his speed again. As Night Sorrow increased his speed and fled for a distance, Sea Dragon Ao Lai's ability was up and he turned back into a sea dragon. This caused their speed to drop a little. At this moment Ao Lai ordered, "Ignite your bloodline increase. We can't let him escape or else we won't have any face left." Yes. 9th Prince. The rest of them immediately burned their speed and chased after him. As for the 2 half-step Heavenly Sovereigns, one of the Heavenly Sovereigns had taken them into the space and was now chasing after them. "I'm afraid you won't chase after me." Yishan looked at the dragons that were chasing after him and instantly had a plan in his heart. After escaping into a mountain shrouded in mist, he set up an illusion array in the mountain. He had set up this illusion array because it was easy to set up. He wanted to use it to trap Ao Lai and the others. Then he would use the time to set up the 5 bulls formation and use it to deal with them. They wouldn't be stupid enough to enter the array together, would they? Upon seeing Night Sorrow setting up an illusion array, Little 7 immediately sent a voice transmission. "You think too highly of them. To these bloodthirsty sea dragons, they only want to kill me. How can they think of anything else?" Night Sorrow said with a smile. He was waiting for Ao Lai and the other sea dragons to tire him out. As for Ao Lai and the others, they were not too far away from him. After about 10 breaths of time they caught up. Just as Night Sorrow had expected, after they caught up, they did not even think and directly attacked Night Sorrow. Perhaps it was because in their eyes Yi Sorrow was only one person and he wasn't a threat at all. It was impossible for him to be a threat to them. However, in less than 10 breaths of time they regretted it. This was because after attacking Night Sorrow, they found themselves completely trapped in an illusion. These sea dragons clearly knew that they were trapped in an illusion, but they had no way to break free and were completely trapped. They could only rely on brute force to break the array. However, Aolai and the others were still quite strong. With the help of the divine weapons they quickly shook the array. It would not be long before they could escape. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow secretly used some of his power of merit to strengthen the array. At the same time he quickly set up the 5 bulls formation. In about 2 hours the complete 5 bulls array was set up by Night Sorrow. At this moment, he secretly withdrew his power of merit and walked into the array again. Interesting. You used an array to trap us but you didn't choose to escape. Seeing that Night Sorrow actually chose to enter the array, Aolai immediately sneered. The other sea dragons were in a very arrogant state. They looked like hounds that had been locked up for a long time. You're still the interesting one. If I didn't have the confidence to deal with you, how could I appear? All of you wait for death. If you don't take out some heaven-defying methods, you will all die here today. Night Sorrow roared and silently chanted the incantation, activating the 5 bulls array. Moo, me, ma, and I. Roar. After the 5 bulls array was activated, it immediately let out an earth-shattering roar. Under the attack of this roar, Aolai and the other sea dragons immediately realized that something was wrong. Although Night Sorrow was not much weaker than them in terms of strength, the power of the array formation he set up was truly too great. Although they could still withstand it for the time being, if Night Sorrow attacked they definitely had no chance of winning. Now you know the meaning of not chasing a cornered enemy? Seeing that Aolai and the others were affected by the 5 bulls array, Night Sorrow once again took out the golden heavenly halberd and completely exploded. Under his fierce attack Aolai and the others quickly lost the ability to resist. At this moment, while the war demon was shocked, he couldn't help but remind, "My lord, you can kill the other sea dragons but you can't kill Aolai. If you kill him, the Sea Dragon King will definitely look for your whereabouts. The Sea Dragon King has the strength of an upper heavenly sovereign and can advance to half-step to the supreme realm at any time. He's definitely not someone you can fight against." "How can you be sure that the Sea Dragon King can find me?" Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. He didn't know much about the methods of the Sea Dragon clan. "My lord, as long as you kill the royal family of the Sea Dragon clan, a mark will appear on your body. With this mark, no matter where you escape, the Sea Dragon King will track you down." The war demon, who understood the Sea Dragon clan better, explained word by word. I got it." Hearing this, Night Sorrow felt that this sea dragon Aolai really couldn't be killed casually. Therefore, after killing all the other sea dragons, Night Sorrow kept Aolai in his own space grotto heaven. He said, "If you don't want to be tortured, use resources or divine weapons to buy your own life. You don't dare to kill me at all. Otherwise my father won't let you off." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Aolai immediately said indifferently, "For now I can't kill you but I have many methods to deal with you." After saying that, Night Sorrow summoned Aolai and threw him into the 5 bulls formation. He then used the formation to attack Aolai again. For a moment Aolai's divine soul trembled violently. It looked like he was about to die at any time. Clan M. Chapter 3175. Do you think I, the royal family of the Sea of Evil, will be afraid of your torture? You want me to compromise? Dream on. Aolai, who was being attacked by the 5 bull formation, was still stubborn. He knew that Night Sorrow did not dare to kill him directly, so he had no fear in his heart. As for the pain his soul suffered, although it was unbearable, he felt that he could endure it. After all, the Sea Dragon Emperor originally had tens of thousands of children. After going through thousands of hardships, only 9 sons and 3 daughters had grown up. These princes and princesses had all gone through cruel trials. Not only were their combat strength strong but their willpower was also very strong. If you feel better then continue to enjoy it. I won't kill you but I won't let you go either. Prepare to be accompanied by pain for the rest of your life. Night Sorrow saw that Aolai's willpower was very tenacious, so he did not intend to continue torturing him. In fact, he knew many methods, but using them to torture his opponent was not his style. Sir, I have a way to deal with him. Seeing that Night Sorrow did not want to continue torturing Ao Lai, the war demon was a little stunned. Then it transmitted its voice. Oh, what do you think? Night Sorrow looked at the war demon as he kept Ao Lai in his space grotto heaven. The truth is like this. Because the sea dragon race is very warlike, they usually fight with us countless times. Later, the Sea Dragon King and the City Lord established diplomatic relations. In order to prevent important people from both sides from dying, they made a rule. That is, if important people from both sides are captured, they can exchange resources with the other side through the City Lord or the Sea Dragon King. The war demon explained and continued, although most of the resources will belong to the City Lord, if you hand over the 9th Prince, you will definitely receive the City Lord's appreciation. It's not a loss. Well, that works too. There's no use in keeping him. It's better to sell him as a piglet, Night Sorrow said with a smile. He felt that this was a reasonable way to deal with Ao Lai in front of him. After all, this guy could not be killed for the time being and he was not afraid of pain. Under such circumstances, they could make an exchange with the City Lord to make him lose face and exchange for resources. No matter how stingy the City Lord, who he had never met, was, he would not refuse to give him anything. However, if you want to see the City Lord, you have to go through Lord Yunyi. This is the rule of Sea Dragon City. The war demon continued. It realized that Night Sorrow didn't know anything about the surrounding area, so it began to explain the situation to him. Today, the war devil was very grateful that Night Sorrow had saved them. At this moment, the other 8 people in Night Sorrow's grotto heaven were so grateful that they prostrated themselves on the ground. If it weren't for Night Sorrow today, these small fries would have become Ao Lai's food. There's no need to rush. Let's go back to the barracks and treat our brothers first. After deciding what to do, Night Sorrow was no longer in a hurry. After returning to the barracks, he used all kinds of resources to save all 8 of his subordinates. After these people recovered, they all knelt in front of Night Sorrow and said gratefully, "Thank you, sir, for giving us a new lease on life. We are willing to sacrifice our lives for sir in the future." "You're welcome. I'm a Decurion, your leader. It's my duty to save you. If there's nothing else, you can go back and rest. Don't go out to do missions today. Rest well for a while. War demons stay." Yishang looked at them. He could understand how grateful these people were that they were lucky enough to survive. After all, it wasn't easy for every cultivator to cultivate to the Earth's sovereign level. No one was willing to sacrifice their lives. "Sir, are we going to see Lord Yunyi now?" The war demon asked immediately. After today's battle, the war demon admired Night Sorrow very much. He felt that following him would definitely have a bright future. He was practically at his beck and call. "Yes, I hope to see the City Lord through Lord Yunyi," Night Sorrow said, then continued, "Lead the way. You're more familiar with the City Lord's mansion than I am." "All right, sir. Please follow me to Lord Yunye's residence." The war demon was like an ancient eunuch. He nodded and bowed as he led the way. When they arrived outside Yunye's courtyard, he immediately went up to report. When he found out that it was Decurion Night Sorrow, Yunyi immediately ordered people to bring them in. However, when they reached the door of the study, the war demon was left behind. Only Night Sorrow was invited in. When Night Sorrow entered Yunye's study, he found that Yunyi was writing. After observing for a while, Night Sorrow found that Yunyi was writing, "Can the heavens be reversed? Can the heavens be reversed?" Night Sorrow looked and found that Yunye's murderous aura was much smaller than the average person's. Relatively speaking, he was more refined in the misty area. He wasn't like the others, who were full of murderous aura and looked like a battle maniac. "Yes. Can the heavens be reversed? Night Demon, can you see anything?" Night Sorrow stared at Yunye's words and asked. In fact, he had seen these words on a copybook. The copybook came from the Eternal Supreme Realm. It was obvious that it was written by a big shot. However, Yunyi had scrutinized it countless times and couldn't see the meaning behind it. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, "On the surface, the meaning is naturally to ask if the heavens can be reversed. But in reality, I'm afraid that if I see the original, I can still discern a thing or two." He could already see that these words weren't written by Yunyi. Yunyi immediately perked up. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Night Demon, you have good eyes. Then do you want to take a look at the original? See if you can see what it contains." Someone with such boldness must be a big shot. The secret it contains is definitely not simple. It's not good whether I can see through it or not. Forget it. Night Sorrow said with a smile and continued, "Actually, Lord Yunyi, the purpose of my trip is to meet the city lord through you." "Why do you want to meet the city lord?" When Yunyi heard this, he immediately shifted his thoughts away from the copybook. "It's like this. A few days ago, my subordinates bumped into the Sea Dragon King's ninth Prince Ao Lai. After a fierce battle, I captured this ninth Prince Ao Lai together. Because I didn't dare to kill him, I wanted the city lord to use him to exchange for resources." Night Sorrow recounted the matter truthfully. "Ninth Prince Ao Lai? Are you sure?" Hearing this, Yunyi immediately perked up. "Of course I'm sure. How could Night Demon joke about this kind of thing?" Night Sorrow promised. "Ah, that's great, that's great." Yunyi laughed out loud. Clan M. Chapter 3176. Oh, from the looks of it, this ninth Prince Ao Lai is useful to Lord Yunyi? Yishang saw Yunye's reaction and instantly guessed what was going on. Useful. Too useful. One of my best friends was captured by the Sea Dragon Palace. Their price is too high and we don't have enough resources to exchange for him. Now that you've captured Ao Lai, my good friend should be able to escape." Yunyi looked at Night Sorrow excitedly and said, "Night Demon, I'll use Ao Lai to exchange for my best friend. I won't treat you unfairly. Don't worry." "Of course. To me this Ao Lai has no value at all. Since Lord Yunyi needs it, I'll give it to you directly." As he spoke, Night Sorrow magnanimously summoned Ao Lai and handed it over to Yunyi. "Ah, this aura is definitely that of the Sea Dragon royal family. Night Demon, you've really given me a big surprise this time." After putting Ao Lai away, Yunyi thought for a moment and took out a piece of calligraphy from his spatial artifact. "This is the calligraphy that I wanted you to take a look at. Although I can't tell what it is. But I can be sure that it's definitely the work of a big shot. It won't be lower than Ao Lai's value. I'll give it to you." "Lord Yunyi, how can this be? As the saying goes, a gentleman doesn't take what others love. I can't accept this calligraphy." Seeing Yunyi take out the calligraphy, Night Sorrow immediately declined. But at this moment Little Seven suddenly said, "This calligraphy is not simple. If you can obtain it, you might be able to gain a lot." "What did you see?" Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his voice. "I can see that there's a seal on this calligraphy, but I can't see what's going on." Little Seven said and continued, "If this calligraphy is very ordinary, why would there be a seal? And it's so hidden. Yunyi definitely didn't see the seal on it." "That's true." Night Sorrow nodded. At this moment, when Yunyi saw Night Sorrow refuse, he immediately laughed and said, "If you don't want it, then I'll have to add more resources. I'll take it that you think this calligraphy is too shabby." Unknowingly, Yunyi, who was in a good mood, had already started calling Night Sorrow his brother. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and took the copybook, saying, "I, Night Sorrow, won't be pretentious. Just take it as my elder brother taking care of me." "Ah, that was not the case. When my friend is swapped back, I'll introduce you to him. Speaking of which, you are his savior." Yunyi said with a smile and ordered his subordinates to prepare the food and wine. After having a good drink with Night Sorrow, Yunyi said to Night Sorrow, "I'm in a hurry to save someone, so I won't entertain you. Let's meet again next time. From now on, your Night Demon's business is my business. Go. Farewell." When Night Sorrow heard this, he immediately took his leave and returned to the barracks with the War Demon. After returning to the barracks, the War Demon looked at Night Sorrow suspiciously and said, "My lord, why didn't you go to the City Lord's mansion with Lord Yunyi? Wouldn't Lord Yunyi have taken all the credit this way?" Lord Yunyi said that he has a close friend who was captured by the Sea Dragon clan and wanted to use Ao Lai to exchange for him. So I gave him Ao Lai in exchange for a favor. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He felt that there was nothing wrong with the way this matter was handled. Moreover, he felt that it was a good deal to exchange for a copybook. "So, my lord, as far as I know, Lord Yunyi doesn't seem to have any close friends. I reckon that he used Ao Lai to exchange for cultivation resources." When the War Demon heard this, it immediately beat its chest and stomped its feet. "No matter what Lord Yunyi exchanged for, we will support him. We just need to support him. After all, in this world, strength speaks for itself." Night Sorrow said with a smile. He cultivated the power of virtue and could tell that Yunyi wasn't lying. It seemed that his close friend had been captured for a long time, so the War Demon and the others had never heard of him. It was no wonder that Yunyi was so surprised when he heard that Night Sorrow had captured Ao Lai. He had even given away the copybook that he had studied for countless years. My lord is right. When Night Sorrow finished speaking, the war demon was immediately speechless. He thought that this Lord Night Demon was a smart person. Then, after being informed by Night Sorrow, he took his leave and returned. Yi Shang, on the other hand, set up a formation and began to study the calligraphy he'd obtained from Yun Yi. As soon as he took out the copybook, Night Sorrow felt a magnificent aura. The person who had written these words must be a legendary expert. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to write with such an aura. However, such an aura was only on the surface. After observing it with the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow could see that there was indeed a formation on the copybook. He said, "There is indeed a hidden formation on this copybook. However, it looks like the runes are very complicated. It shouldn't be something that I can easily decipher. We don't have a way to decipher it either." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Little 7, Little 9, and the others also spoke up. At this time, the female seal breaking hammer smiled and said, "Isn't breaking formations what we're good at? Let's give it a try." After saying that, the pair of seal breaking hammers began to study the formation on the copybook. However, after many attempts, they realized that the level of the formation on the copybook was too high. Although they knew the way to decipher it, they weren't strong enough. The male seal breaking hammer sighed and said, "If we can advance to the Sky Supreme level, we'll definitely be able to decipher it. There's nothing else to do now. I'll think of a way to find materials for you to advance." Night Sorrow had used some of the materials he had obtained in the past on the golden heavenly halberd and had neglected the seal-breaking hammers. When he heard the male seal-breaking hammer's words, he immediately felt a little embarrassed. In the following period of time, he asked the war demon and the others to pay attention to materials that could be used to forge Sky Supreme artifacts. However, Sea Dragon City was located in a remote area and had limited information. The Sky Supreme materials that could be found were all very expensive. Night Sorrow couldn't exchange for them. However, just as he was thinking about how to obtain these materials, Yun Yi suddenly brought a male cultivator to Night Sorrow. After the introduction, Night Sorrow learned that this male cultivator was called Xian Yin, which gave off a very similar feeling to Yun Ye's name. Looking at his personality, it seemed that he was similar to Yun Yi. No wonder the two of them could become close friends. "Brother Night Demon, it's all thanks to you that I was able to rescue Xian Yin. A few years ago, I discovered an underground cave in a secluded area. However, I didn't have any helpers, so I didn't try to enter. This time, Xian Yin has returned, so I'm prepared to explore. Do you want to follow me?" After Xian Yin thanked Night Sorrow, Yun Yi invited him to go to the cave to search for resources. Clan. Chapter 3177. Brother Yun Yi, Night Demon's strength is low, and the gap between you and him is huge. He might become a burden if he follows you to explore the cave. It's better not to go. Moreover, the copybook is enough to save Brother Xian Yin. Don't take it to heart. Night Sorrow knew that Yun Yi and Xian Yin must have felt that the copybook was not enough to repay him for capturing Ao Lai, so they wanted to bring him to explore the cave. He would definitely be rewarded. However, he felt that this was not good, as it would seem like he was constantly asking for credit. As for Yun Yi and Xian Yin's characters, they were not bad, and they did not seem like cultivators from the foggy area. Night Sorrow, who was cultivating the power of merit, could feel it. "Hey, how can a copybook be enough to exchange for my life?" Seeing that Night Sorrow had rejected him, Xian Yin smiled and said, "Moreover, we saw you as a friend, so we invited you. After all, the more reliable helpers we have, the better." "That's right. We saw that you were talented and you were a good person, so we wanted to bring you along. As for the rewards, we will rely on our own abilities. Although you're going with us, you might not be able to get anything good." Yun Yi chimed in as well. Before coming, he had never thought that Night Sorrow would reject him. At this moment, Yi Shang's refusal made Yi Fuqian value him even more. He could see that Yi Shang was not pretending to be polite. "Night Sorrow, don't the restriction-breaking hammer need materials to advance to the level of a heavenly sovereign? Why don't you go with them?" After Yun Yi and Xian Yin finished talking, Little 7 persuaded him. "I don't like to owe people favors, especially from cultivators from the foggy area. Moreover, they are being polite now, but what if they find some amazing secret treasures?" Yun Yi and Xian Yin were middle heavenly sovereigns and lower heavenly sovereigns, and their auras were very strong. Night Sorrow could fight Xian Yin alone, but against the two of them he could only choose to escape. After replying to Little 7, Yi Shang continued, "I appreciate your kind intentions, but I need to find some heavenly sovereign level materials in the next few days. As for the cave, I really don't have time to go. Ah. If you need resources, isn't it good to go to the cave to search? Don't be polite. Yunyi said, it's settled then. We will leave tomorrow. Let's have a good drink today. It's a welcome party for Shen Yan. You don't know how he has been treated over there. Yunyi didn't even give Yi Shang a chance to refute before settling the matter. Shen Yan sighed and said, originally my strength was on par with Brother Yun, but now the difference is so great. Now that I've come out, I'm truly grateful to Brother Night Demon. This cup of wine is for you alone. Brother Shen Yan. Yi Shang also raised his cup and drank with the other party. Then Shen Yan began to tell Yunyi and Night Sorrow about how he had been imprisoned and tortured in the Sea of Evil. The nature of the sea dragons was so evil that it was against the heavens. Because of that he had spent his days there. Now that Night Sorrow had been rescued, his gratitude toward him was indescribable. Brother Shen Yan, how many cultivators were imprisoned over there? Night Sorrow immediately asked after hearing Shen Yan's story. At this moment he was pondering something in his heart. If there were many cultivators imprisoned over there, he would find a way to release all of them when he reached the Sea of Evil. He would let them create chaos and then take the opportunity to take Little 8 back. Hearing Night Sorrow's question, Shen Yan sighed and said, too many. No less than 200. Many of them were imprisoned by the sea dragons before they established diplomatic relations with the city governor. They were imprisoned in a dark cage and no one came to rescue them. They would be tortured for eternity. And those sea dragons were so cruel that they did not even give them a chance to self-destruct. These sea dragons are really not good for anything. Then why did the city governor establish diplomatic relations with them? Night Sorrow asked, puzzled. After he asked this question, Yunye's expression changed slightly and said, I'll tell you this, but you can't reveal it. The city governor and the sea dragon king have a beneficial relationship. We don't know what it is exactly. Of course, Night Devil won't reveal it. Hearing this, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and had his own guess. Then he changed the topic to the cave abode. With Yunyi and Shen Yan's explanation, Night Sorrow was sure that the two of them did not know much about the cave abode. However, the seal at the cave abode's entrance was not simple, which proved that the cave abode's owner was very powerful. The next day, Night Sorrow told the War Devil and the others that he was going to find the cave abode with Yunyi and Shen Yan. The entrance to the cave abode was in an underground river in a rift valley. After the three of them sneaked in, they found that the seal at the cave abode's entrance was still there, which proved that no one had been here before. The two of you, please wait for a moment. I've already studied the seal of the cave abode several times. I have some insights. Let's start breaking the seal now. After confirming that no one had been here before, Yunyi asked Night Sorrow and Shen Yan to step back while he broke the seal in front of them. While Yunyi was breaking the seal, the male hammer of the restriction breaking hammer sent a voice transmission. Night Sorrow. The owner of this cave abode is more powerful than you think. Oh? What did you see? Asked Night Sorrow. If we're not mistaken, the entrance seal in front of us was sealed by a few random words written by the owner of the cave in an extremely hasty situation. Even so, the grade of this seal is almost at the level of an upper heavenly sovereign. This proves that the cave abode's owner is at least a half step to the supreme realm. The male hammer of the restriction breaking hammer judged. I didn't look carefully just now. As Yunyi was breaking the seal, Night Sorrow did not look carefully. Now that he heard the male hammer of the restriction breaking hammer say so, he immediately opened the sea serpent's eye to observe. He immediately saw the words that sealed the entrance, waiting for the fated one. Waiting for the fated one? Seeing these words, Night Sorrow immediately thought of the calligraphy on his body. Although the handwriting looked a little messy, it had a very similar style to the heaven-defying question on the copybook. It was very likely that they were written by the same person. After seeing these words clearly, Night Sorrow's emotions were a little complicated. After thinking for a while, he said, Brother Yunyi, did you see the words that sealed the cave abode? It seems to have a similar aura to the calligraphy on the calligraphy. There are words? I didn't see them. Yunyi was puzzled when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Shen Yan also looked over with interest. Night Sorrow did not hold back and slowly said the words that sealed the entrance. Waiting for the fated one? Then who is the fated one? Hearing this, Yunyi immediately frowned. Chapter 3178. If it's a fated person, can we enter directly without breaking the seal? Shen Yan asked as he looked at the entrance of the cave abode. Hearing that, Yunyi immediately perked up and said, "We'll know once we try." After saying that, he walked in front towards the entrance of the cave abode. However, he was bounced back by the lake-like entrance and was injured. "I can't. You guys try," Yunyi said in disappointment as he spat out a mouthful of black blood. "Don't be disappointed. It's the same whether we can enter." Xian Yin comforted Yunyi when he saw his disappointment. Then he also walked towards the entrance. However, his ending was the same as Yunyi's. Then the two of them looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Brother Night Demon, you can try. However, you have to activate your divine territory and armor first, in case you can't block the attack." "Okay, I'll try," Night Sorrow said as he activated his divine territory and armor and slowly walked towards the entrance. Because he had the calligraphy on him, he felt that he had a lot of hope. However, things did not go as he wished. In the end, he was bounced back like Yunyi and Shen Yin. He was injured. "Could it be that I didn't take out the calligraphy? I can't sense the entrance of the cave abode?" Night Sorrow, who had been attacked, said as he took out the calligraphy that Yunyi had given him from his spatial artifact. He held it in his hand and walked towards the entrance. Boom. However, Night Sorrow was still attacked this time. The calligraphy in his hand did not work at all. Fortunately, the calligraphy was very sturdy and was not broken by this attack. "Brother Night Demon, are you alright?" The two of them, who had almost recovered, immediately went forward when they saw that Night Sorrow was injured. Among them, Yunyi handed over a restorative pill. "I'm fine. However, this cave abode doesn't seem to be easy to enter. We don't seem to be fated," Night Sorrow said unhappily as he swallowed the pill. Originally, he was not very interested in this cave abode. However, he was now energized and wanted to go in and see what was going on. "I'll continue to try to break the formation," Yunyi said as he continued to try to break the formation. However, in the end he still failed to break the array formation. After that, Xian Yin also tried to break the array at the entrance, but he still couldn't break it. Then Yunyi said in disappointment, "Originally, we wanted to bring Brother Night Demon into the cave abode to find some resources. Who would have thought that he wouldn't be able to enter at all? What a disappointment. Let's go." "Are we leaving now?" Night Sorrow asked Yunyi. "Yes. We can't break the array formation at the entrance. Let's just leave," Yunyi said helplessly. "I don't think all the methods have been tried yet." At this time, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "We can try to attack the entrance directly. Who knows, we might be able to blast it open." "Oh? What you said is not without reason." Hearing this, Yunyi immediately nodded. Shen Yin also felt that it was worth a try. Hence, they all took out their divine artifacts and began to bombard the entrance of the cave. However, the final result was still failure. "I have another method, but I can't try it in front of the two of them." After everyone had tried various methods and failed, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the restriction-breaking hammer and Little Seven. "You mean we should use that thing to bombard the entrance of the cave abode?" Little Seven asked doubtfully. "Yes, but I can't do it in front of them. After all, we just met not long ago. I can't casually reveal my methods." After saying this, Night Sorrow left with Yunyi and Shen Yin and returned to the city governor's mansion. Then Yunyi and Shen Yin went to do other things. Night Sorrow returned to the entrance of the cave abode alone. After observing for a while, he set up an array formation around the area, afraid that he would make too much noise and be discovered by others. After setting up the array formation, Night Sorrow took out the ancient coffin from the void dimension. After brewing for a while, he suddenly smashed it at the entrance of the cave abode. Under the continuous bombardment, the entrance of the cave abode could not withstand it and was blasted open. "Is this fate?" After using the ancient coffin to blast open the entrance, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then he put away the ancient coffin, opened the sea serpent's eye, and carefully walked into the cave abode. This was not because he liked to eat alone, but because the secret of the ancient coffin could not be exposed casually. After entering, Night Sorrow realized that the cave abode was very simple and crude. It seemed to have been casually slashed out by a sword. In the pitch-black space, there were no decorations or cultivator corpses. According to the judgment of Night Sorrow and the restriction-breaking hammer, this should be a cave abode that a cultivator had casually opened when he was seriously injured. They had thought that the cultivator had died, but now it seemed that was not the case. However, although there were no cultivators or decorations in this cave abode, there was a ring. This should have been deliberately left behind by that cultivator. There are really a lot of resources inside. After Night Sorrow injected his divine essence and activated the ring, He immediately realized that there were a lot of resources in the ring. It was enough for him to upgrade the restriction-breaking hammer to a heavenly supreme divine artifact. There's no time like the present. Restriction-breaking hammers, I'll help you guys upgrade. When he saw these resources, Night Sorrow did not hesitate and immediately took them out for the restriction-breaking hammers to absorb. A divine artifact like the restriction-breaking hammers was very special. They could only be absorbed by themselves and could not be refined. After waiting for about a month in the cave abode, the male and female hammers both advanced to the heavenly supreme level. After advancing, the female hammer immediately said, "Night Sorrow, I discovered that there's not only the ring you obtained in this cave abode, but also an ultimate skill." An ultimate skill? Night Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye and looked around, but he did not discover anything. At that moment, the male and female hammers of the restriction-breaking hammers said in unison, "There's an array formation hiding it. Let's crack it." With that said, the male and female hammers of the restriction-breaking hammers began to crack a concealment array formation on the wall. After the array formation was cracked, Night Sorrow immediately saw an illustration of an ultimate skill on the wall and the words, "For the Fated One." It was signed by Yen. Yen. This is actually Yan's cave abode? When he saw that it was signed by Yen, Night Sorrow immediately became excited. He carefully observed the illustration on the wall. The name of this divine ability was Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique. Night Sorrow took a few glances and understood it. This is a top-tier ultimate skill, not inferior to a divine ability at all. In fact, it's even stronger. However, this should be an ultimate skill for dragons. When fighting against other races, its power should be reduced. After learning the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique, Night Sorrow immediately understood that this was an ultimate skill for dragons. This was exactly what he needed the most at the moment. After all, he would enter the Sea of Evil in a few decades. When that time came, he would inevitably have to fight against the sea dragons. At that moment, the male hammer, who had just broken the seal on the wall, continued, "We can try to crack that calligraphy." Chapter 3179. Alright. Here's the copybook. Try to crack it and see if you can break the restriction. After the restriction-breaking hammer finished speaking, Yishang took out a scroll and handed it to them. After the pair of hammers tried it, the male hammer said, "We might be able to break it, but it'll be a long process. Let's go back to your grotto heaven and slowly crack it. Otherwise, it'll waste too much time." "How long will it take?" Night Sorrow put the hammers and copybook away in his grotto heaven and asked. He would only enter the ocean of evil a few decades later. He hoped that the prohibition-breaking copper hammer would be able to break the forbidding aura before then. This way he would be able to increase his bargaining chip. Hearing Night Sorrow's question, the male hammer communicated with the female hammer and said, "I'm not sure about the exact time, but it shouldn't be more than 100 years. If we want to speed it up, we'll need the support of resources. If we have enough black thorn crystals, we'll be able to crack it faster." "Alright. I have some black thorn crystals here. You can use them. If it's not enough, I'll think of something else." Night Sorrow gave the remaining black thorn crystals to the hammers and checked the cave abode again. After checking carefully and finding nothing else, he left and returned to the barracks. After returning to the barracks, Night Sorrow found the war demon waiting for him. He asked, "War demon, what's the matter?" "My lord, it's like this. My brothers haven't fought recently, so we're itching to fight. We want to find something to do. Can you take some missions from Lord Yunyi?" The war demon said. Ever since the incident with Sea Dragon Ao Lai, they hadn't gone out to fight. For the cultivators in the foggy area, it was a matter of life and death. Recently, the City Lord's mansion hadn't issued any missions for the war demon, so he came to find Night Sorrow. "Alright. I'll go find Brother Yunyi." After listening to the war demon, Night Sorrow went to Yunye's residence. After exchanging some pleasantries, Night Sorrow mentioned that his subordinates didn't have any missions to take on. Hearing this, Yunyi smiled and said, "There are still many things like missions. But I have to tell you something first. I feel very sorry that I didn't let you get any resources during the last mission. Therefore, I carefully investigated some things about you. I found out that you have a friend called Bai Mei. Is that so?" "Yes. Brother Yunyi Whitebrow is my best friend." Hearing Yunyi mention Bai Mei Sanrin, Night Sorrow said affirmatively. Hearing this, Yunyi immediately frowned and said, "In the process of asking around, I found out that your friend's condition isn't very good. When he and his team were carrying out a mission, they encountered a strong enemy and lost contact with the entire team. What? How could such a thing happen? After Yun Yi finished speaking, Night Sorrow's expression immediately changed. He asked, "Brother Yun Yi, what mission did they accept?" "The mission they accepted was to go to a valley to slaughter demons. Now that we have failed, if you have any ideas, you can bring your subordinates to accept it." After Yun Yi finished speaking, he tried to persuade her. "But that valley is very strange. After that team's accident, it was very strange. Centurion Hei Chi went to search for him, but he didn't find any clues. Then all the more I have to go. I can't ignore my friend when something happens to him." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he asked, "Brother Yun Yi, how do I accept that mission?" "The current mission has been taken back by the City Lord Mansion because it's too dangerous. You can only accept it from the City Lord. If you must accept it, I can help you." Yun Yi said. "Accept it? Of course I have to accept it," Night Sorrow said without hesitation. He didn't expect that Bai Mei Sanren would be in trouble while he was spending some time in the cave. "All right. Wait here. I'll help you accept the mission." After Yun Yi said this, he went to the City Lord Mansion to help Night Sorrow accept the mission. About an hour later he would return. He handed the mission scroll to Night Sorrow and said, "This is the mission scroll. After you read it carefully, you can go to that valley. But I have a condition. You have to bring Xian Yi and my summoning stone. If there are any abnormalities, I will immediately bring over 100 cultivators and descend." "Okay. Thank you very much, Brother Yun Yi." Yun Yi was very generous. After hearing what he said, Night Sorrow was very grateful. "All right, go. Be careful. If there's any trouble, summon me immediately." Yun Yi knew that Night Sorrow would immediately set off after returning to the barracks, so he instructed him. He felt that Night Sorrow was too prideful. He was afraid that he would fall into danger and be too embarrassed to summon him. The current mission had been taken back by the City Lord, which proved that it was very dangerous. It was impossible to do it with the strength of an Earth Sovereign. "Don't worry, Brother Yun Yi. Night Demon won't joke around with his life. If there's any situation, I'll summon you immediately." After saying this, Night Sorrow returned to the barracks to find the War Demon and the others and tell them about the mission. To his surprise, the War Demon and the others heard that the mission was very dangerous. Not only were they not afraid, but they were all very excited and eager to try. Seeing their reactions, Night Sorrow thought to himself, "The cultivators in this foggy area are indeed different from those in the Eternal Supreme Realm. Although they are warlike and bloodthirsty, they are also fearless. That's not bad." Then he said, "Since everyone is willing to go, let's set off immediately." The details are recorded in the mission scroll. Take a look for yourselves. "Sir, I know the way to the Valley of Wrath. I'll lead the way." After reading the mission scroll, Jia Mao immediately volunteered. Back then he had almost been beaten to death by Night Sorrow, but now he was completely convinced. "All right. Everyone must remember not to take risks in this mission, because you may lose your life at any time." After saying this, Night Sorrow looked at the mission scroll again. He wanted to get some inspiration from it. According to the records on the mission scroll, this mission had already been accepted 3 times. However, each time the cultivator who accepted the mission disappeared in the valley. The City Lord's mansion had sent the Centurion and other experts to the valley, but they couldn't find anything. This was obviously very strange. It should be that the target in the valley is no match for the Centurion, so he didn't appear when the Centurion came. There are no heavenly sovereigns in our team at all. I think that he will appear. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that there was no reason for the mission target not to appear. After arriving at the valley with the others, he floated in the void and observed with the sea serpent's eye. He wanted to find some clues. However, after looking for a while, he didn't find anything. Then, he led the others to land in the valley and carefully looked for clues. Chapter 3180. This valley occupied a very large area. It seemed to stretch for about 100,000 miles. The terrain was low and humid, and the ground was almost covered with moss. The black forest was also very lush, and the distance between the trees was very close. The branches and leaves of many trees were connected together. Night Sorrow had been standing in the void earlier, and he hadn't seen anything with the sea serpent's eye. However, when he walked into the forest in the valley, he immediately sensed a faint smell of blood. It was emitted by the black forest. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to look at the black ancient tree in front of him, but he couldn't see any trees. He ordered, War Demon, bring some men and cut down this ancient tree in front of us. I can sense the smell of blood from it. This tree is very likely a man-eating tree that has absorbed the blood or flesh of cultivators. Yes, sir. War Demon heard this and immediately called 2 men. The 3 of them took out their divine weapons and cut at the black ancient tree in front of them. Clang, clang, clang. After the 3 of them cut the ancient tree with their weapons, there was a clanging sound of metal. The 3 weapons only cut a little of the ancient tree's bark. This caused the War Demon to exclaim in astonishment, "This seemingly ordinary ancient tree is actually so sturdy. Its strength is at least comparable to a middle earthly sovereign. There must be something strange about it. Continue cutting. I want to see what will happen when we cut it down." Yi Shang continued to observe the surroundings as he gave the order once again. Yes, sir. After hearing Night Sorrow's order, War Demon and the other 2 men used their weapons again to cut down the ancient tree. Although the ancient tree in front of them was very sturdy, it was still cut down. After the black ancient tree fell to the ground, Night Sorrow went forward to take a look. He found that the tree's internal growth rings were actually flowing with black-red blood. It looked very strange. "Do you know the name of this ancient tree?" Night Sorrow, who was observing, asked. He didn't know the name of this ancient tree in the foggy area. When Jia Mao heard this, he immediately said, "Sir, this seems to be a dragon blood tree. However, it looks a little different from an ordinary dragon blood tree. It should be a mutated one." Mutant dragon blood tree. Night Sorrow murmured and continued, "If I'm not wrong, the blood flowing in the mutated dragon blood tree should not be its own. It must have been absorbed from cultivators." "That is indeed possible." Hearing this, the War Devil agreed and continued, "This bloody aura should belong to a cultivator, a humanoid one at that. According to my judgment, this mutated dragon blood tree should be using its roots to absorb the blood essence of cultivators. If I'm not mistaken, there must be something down there." "Yes, your thoughts coincide with mine." Night Sorrow nodded in agreement and ordered, "Dig out the roots of this mutant dragon blood tree. Let's see what's going on. When you make a move, remember to be careful. If there wasn't any danger here, those people who received the mission wouldn't have gone missing." "Yes, my lord." After saying that, the War Demon volunteered to dig up the roots of the dragon blood tree. However, the soil near the mutated dragon blood tree was very tough. It was very difficult for the War Demon to dig it up. Jia Mao and the other 3 cultivators saw that the War Demon was having a hard time digging and immediately went over to help. The quality of this soil is also very unusual. Seeing that the War Demon and the rest were having a hard time digging, Night Sorrow suddenly had a bad premonition. He felt that there was definitely something difficult to deal with down in this valley. Therefore, he took Yun Yi and Shen Yan's summoning stone out of the space grotto heaven and held it in his hand. He thought to himself, "If something goes wrong, I'll call for help. My lord, this soil is too tough. At our current speed, we might not be able to dig out the roots of the mutated dragon blood tree in a month." After digging for about 2 hours, the War Demon said helplessly. The hardness of the surrounding soil was far beyond his imagination. It was very strenuous to dig it up. "You guys take a break. Let me do it." Night Sorrow also understood that the War Demon and the rest were unable to dig it up. He immediately asked them to step back. He took out the golden heavenly halberd and started digging. The golden heavenly halberd was now a true heavenly sovereign artifact. Using it to dig up the surrounding soil was like a treasured sword that could cut through iron like mud. "My lord, you're amazing. Using a heavenly sovereign artifact is simply amazing." Seeing that Night Sorrow's progress had exceeded their 2 hours of hard work in an instant, the War Demon and the rest were all amazed. The War Demon and the rest were so impressed that they prostrated themselves on the ground and praised him repeatedly. "Don't be careless. Release your god territories and be on guard." Night Sorrow, who was continuing to dig, reminded them with a frown. As the digging progressed, the bad premonition in his heart grew stronger and stronger. In the forest, there was a feeling that a storm was about to come. "Yes, my lord." The War Demon and the rest could tell that Night Sorrow's tone was rather grave and immediately took it seriously. They released their god territories and prepared for battle. "If danger appears later, immediately give up resisting and enter my space grotto heaven." As the digging progressed, Night Sorrow felt that something was amiss. In the end, he began to feel a sense of danger as if he was being targeted by wild beasts. He knew that this was not an illusion. It was just that he could not pinpoint the location of his opponent. If it were not for the fact that he had to find Bai Mei Sanrin and rescue him, he might have even given up on digging. "I've dug up the roots. I finally dug up the roots. My lord is amazing. Where does it connect to? After about 2 hours, Night Sorrow had successfully dug out the roots of the mutant dragon blood tree in front of him. What was even more surprising was, after Night Sorrow pulled out the roots of the mutant dragon blood tree from the soil, there was a red root that did not come out. Night Sorrow tried to pull it out, but it did not come out at all. Could this root be connected to somewhere underground where it absorbs the cultivator's blood? The war demon, who had seen the situation in front of him, asked in surprise. Very likely. Everyone be careful. I'm going to continue digging. After saying this, Night Sorrow summoned the restriction-breaking hammers and said, look carefully and see if there are any formations or traps down there. Wait a moment. The restriction-breaking hammers replied in unison and started to check. Then they said, I didn't see it when I was in the space grotto heaven just now. This valley is a formation that is suppressing a very powerful demonic creature. However, after a long time the formation has loosened. Although the demonic creature has also been exhausted, it has not fallen. So it's a formation that contains a formation demonic creature. What level of demonic creature is it? Can you sense it? Hearing the restriction-breaking hammer's words, Night Sorrow immediately asked with a frown. He knew that whatever was being suppressed down there was definitely not simple. Chapter 3181. The formation in front of us might have come from a Supreme Realm expert. Therefore, I'm guessing that the demonic creature trapped here should be at the Supreme Realm or half a step to the Supreme Realm. However, it's very difficult to destroy, so it's trapped here. The male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer voiced his opinion. I don't think it's very likely to be at the Supreme Realm. After all, there are too few Supreme Realm experts. After the male hammer finished speaking, Night Sorrow frowned and said, but even if it's half a step to the Supreme Realm, we're definitely no match for it. I only hope that after being trapped for so many years, its strength has decreased a lot. It can't use much of its strength when it's trapped. To Night Sorrow, Baime Sanrin had to be saved no matter what. Therefore he had no intention of escaping at all. Seeing that Night Sorrow was so determined, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer continued, if the demonic creature below is half a step to the Supreme Realm, it should be powerless under the suppression of a Supreme Realm expert's formation. It's a risk we can take. It's not necessarily a suicide mission. We definitely have to go down. But to be safe, let's call for help. After saying that, Night Sorrow summoned Yunyi and Shen Yan. He told them about the situation before them. So there's a demonic prison near Sea Dragon City? After hearing that, Yunyi immediately frowned. However, he did not summon all his subordinates. Instead, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, Brother Night Demon, it's very dangerous down there. It's not necessarily a good thing to bring some weak cultivators. How about this? You let your subordinates return to the City Lord Mansion, and the three of us go down. If something goes wrong, I can summon the City Lord. Alright, let's do that. Night Sorrow nodded and said. In fact, he had a guess in his heart at this moment. It was very likely that Yen Zai was unable to kill this monster when he was severely injured, and thus imprisoned it here. After all, Yen had appeared nearby and left behind a cave abode. Brother Night Demon, I'll go in front. You go in the middle. Brother Yunyi will bring up the rear. After starting to dig down, Shen Yan spoke. Naturally, this was to protect Night Sorrow. After all, Night Sorrow's cultivation level was the lowest among the three of them. Hearing this, while Night Sorrow was touched, he also reminded Shen Yan, Brother Shen Yan, be careful too. Under normal circumstances, night demons can protect themselves. Alright. Then I'll pay attention to the front. After Shen Yan finished speaking, he continued digging. Following the red roots of the mutated dragon blood tree, they dug all the way down. After Shen Yan Shen's Shen Night Shen. This was because there were a large number of cultivators inside the formation. These red roots were all connected to the bodies of these cultivators and were constantly sucking their blood. It was enough to make one's scalp tingle. The situation below was very chaotic. There were tens of thousands of cultivators, densely packed. Night Sorrow could not find Baime Sanrin at all. He was very nervous. He felt that it wasn't good for Baime Sanrin to be here either. If they were in here, they might still be alive, but they would have been sucked dry. Brother Night Demon, what did you see? Yunyi immediately asked when he saw Night Sorrow's ugly expression. I see tens of thousands of cultivators below, and they are all having their flesh and blood sucked out by these red roots. Night Sorrow frowned. If my friend is down there, he must have suffered a lot. Your friend by May went missing not too long ago. Even if he's down there, he should be fine. After all, the speed at which these roots absorb flesh and blood is not fast. Xian Yan said. Yes. Thank you for reminding me, Brother Xuanyan. I was too involved to see the situation clearly. When Night Sorrow heard Xian Yan's words, his mood immediately improved. He felt that what Xian Yan said was indeed very reasonable. Don't be so polite. But what should we do next? Should we go down directly? Xian Yan continued. The situation in front of them made even him feel uncomfortable. We can't go down directly. The aura below makes me very uncomfortable. We have to report it to the city governor. Yun Yi said cautiously after observing for a while. The large formation below made him very nervous, and he did not dare to go down directly. All right, it will be very dangerous for us to go down rashly. Let's report it to the city governor and let him handle it. Xian Yan said in agreement. At this time, Night Sorrow said, we don't necessarily need the city governor to come over. Why do you say that? Yun Yi immediately asked when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Xian Yan also fixed his gaze on his face. Although it looks scary down there, the aura of a certain terrifying existence is not very strong. It's about the level of a middle heavenly supreme. After a careful observation, Night Sorrow sensed the demonic creature below. At this time, the demonic creature's aura was about that of a middle heavenly supreme. To the three of them it was not very strong. Night Sorrow felt that they could fight it. A middle heavenly supreme? That should be nothing. We can fight it. But are you sure? Yun Yi asked with a frown. He was afraid that what Night Sorrow saw was not real. If it was very strong, it would have rushed out long ago. Do you think you can still let us talk freely here? After calming down, Night Sorrow understood many things and said with a smile. He continued, brothers, wait for me for a while. Let me set up a formation and we will go in. Let's kill that thing down there. This can be considered a good deed for Sea Dragon City. If we don't kill it, who knows how many people will suffer. If there's anything you need our help with, just let us know. Also, I will take advantage of this time to set up a teleportation formation. If the situation is not good, we will directly teleport back to the station. Yun Yi said and set up a teleportation formation underground. Night Sorrow set up a concealment formation and a 5 bulls formation nearby. The 5 bulls formation was hidden in a concealment formation, and its range was limited. It could not cover the large formation below. The meaning of its existence was to lure the existence below in when it was no match for it, and then kill it. Brothers, I finished setting it up. What about you? After setting it up, Night Sorrow looked at Yun Yi and Xian Yan. At this time, Yun Yi had already set up a teleportation formation. Xian Yan, on the other hand, was preparing something looking very mysterious. After Night Sorrow spoke, Yun Yi said, wait a moment. We still need to wait for Xian Yan. Why is there a strange smell around us? Brothers, be careful. At this moment, Night Sorrow noticed that the smell around them had changed, and he immediately reminded them. Chapter 3182. Smell? Why didn't I notice it? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yun Yi immediately frowned and sensed, but he didn't find anything. Xian Yan sensed for a moment and said, there seems to be a strange smell. It's very similar to the smell of blood, but it's definitely not. It's like the smell of some demonic creature. Yes, it seems to be the smell of a demonic creature. This smell is getting stronger. Not good, the main target has appeared. Let's hurry up and attack. Follow me. Night Sorrow said and looked inside the array. At this moment, below the cultivators whose flesh and blood were being absorbed, there was a black and red tree that was growing crazily. As he spoke, it grew from 1 foot tall to 100 feet tall. At this moment, Night Sorrow said and waved his golden heavenly halberd, directly shooting an improved version of the divine spear at the demonic tree. When this move was shot out, it immediately shot out a black ray of light that went straight for the demonic tree's trunk. There's a path to immortality, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell. In the face of Night Sorrow's attack, the demonic tree roared coldly and stretched out countless branches, slapping at Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd. At the same time, the roots that had absorbed the blood essence of the cultivators were all pulled out from their bodies and attacked Night Sorrow and the others. There were so many of those blood-colored roots that it was impossible to count them all. After moving, the surrounding void was completely sealed off. At this moment, Shen Yen shouted, "Brother Yun, Brother Yi, the two of you fight with the main target. I'll be in charge of dealing with these blood-colored roots. Brother Shen Yen, you have to be careful." With these words, Yun Yi took out a sword and a brush from his spatial Dharma tool. First, he cut his palm with the sword, then he dipped the brush in some blood and used the brush to write the word "kill" in the void. After the word "kill" appeared, it suddenly grew larger and eventually became about the same size as the demonic tree. Then it suddenly attacked. "Ah, Brother Yun, I didn't expect you to use your trump card as soon as the battle started." Shen Yen, who was fighting against the red rhizomes, smiled when he saw Yun Yi use his soul-breaking brush. "The aura of the demonic tree before us is constantly growing stronger. We have to act swiftly and decisively. There's no need for us to hold back." The word "kill" that Yun Yi wrote struck the demonic tree and immediately caused a huge tremor. It caused the entire demonic tree to shake violently. Countless branches and leaves fell off. This was much more powerful than Night Sorrow's godly shot. What a powerful absolute art! Night Sorrow was amazed by Yun Ye's technique. At this moment he finally understood why Yun Yi always liked to stay in the study. It turned out that writing was his ability to kill. Whoa! After being hit by Yun Yi, the demonic tree immediately let out a beast-like roar. Then he spoke again in human language. "You ants, if I were the primordial demonic tree at my peak state, I would have been dead by now. I only need 3 leaves to kill all of you." After roaring, he once again used the sky full of branches and leaves to attack Night Sorrow and Yun Yi crazily. Those blood-colored roots attacked Shen Yen in an incomparably frenzied manner. "Unfortunately, you are no longer the same person as before. Now, you are at most an intermediate heavenly supreme." Night Sorrow, who was observing the primordial demonic tree with the sea serpent's eye, said coldly. Then he used the golden heavenly halberd and used the mysterious azure godly spear technique. He knew that there was a gap between his strength and the primordial demonic trees, so he used a more powerful technique right from the start. "It won't be easy to kill the two of them, but I, the primordial demonic tree, can easily kill an ant like you." After being mocked by Night Sorrow, the primordial demonic tree was immediately enraged. Suddenly, a blood-colored root extended from the ground and attacked him. "Brother Night Demon, you're in danger." Seeing this scene, Yun Yi immediately warned him. He could feel how powerful this root was. "Don't worry. I won't be killed so easily. Brother Yun Yi, take care of yourself." After replying to Yun Yi, Night Sorrow immediately activated the Treastrimsa Battle Mystic Technique and the Green Phoenix Battle Armor. He fought with the root that was like a red python. At the same time, he fought against the crazily attacking branches and leaves. It was basically a stalemate. "Brother Night Demon, good technique." Yun Yi saw Night Sorrow use such a technique to enter a stalemate with the primordial demonic tree's root. He roared and wrote the word, "seal," again. Once this word was written, the primordial demonic tree's attack speed slowed down significantly. "Brother Yun Yi, this is a good technique." Night Sorrow knew that the primordial demonic tree's actions were affected by Yun Ye's word, "seal." After praising him, he knew that this was a good opportunity. Then he attacked the primordial demonic tree crazily. Not only did he cut off the root, but he also attacked the primordial demonic tree's trunk. Clang, clang, clang. Night Sorrow used the golden heavenly halberd and attacked 3 consecutive times with the godly spear technique. However, he could not pierce through the primordial demonic tree's trunk. Moreover, he could not even damage the bark of the trunk. He immediately roared, "Brother Yun Yi, this primordial demonic tree's branch is at least a half step to the paramount realm. I can't break through its defense. Help me restrain it from above. I'll go underground and attack its root from below." Judging from the blood-colored root just now, Night Sorrow felt that he could almost cut off all of the primordial demonic tree's roots. Another point was that when he went underground in a place where the two of them could not reach, he could use the power of merit. That way his strength would increase by a lot. "Alright. Take care of yourself. I'll be in charge of restraining it." Through the battle just now, Yun Yi had a whole new level of respect for Night Sorrow. He treated him as a cultivator who was about the same strength as him. With a roar, he wrote the word, "split," again. Suddenly he attacked the primordial demonic tree. This word, "split," caused many of the primordial demonic tree's branches to explode in the void. However, Yun Ye's face also turned pale because he had used up too much energy. "Let's see how long your attack that consumes blood essence can last." If not for the remnant array formation suppressing it, I would have trapped all of you as food long ago. To the primordial demonic tree, Yunyi was clearly the greatest threat. After Night Sorrow went underground, he attacked Yunyi crazily. If I were a Paramount Realm expert, killing you would be as easy as slaughtering a chicken. What's the use of saying, if? Upon hearing the primordial demonic tree's words, Yunyi immediately mocked back. At the same time he struggled to write the word freeze, with his pale face. The moment the word freeze was written, Yunyi's expression turned even worse. However, this word was clearly more effective than the seal word. When it hit the primordial demonic tree, it immediately slowed down its movements. The attack was basically in slow motion. Night Sorrow, who had gone underground to fight against the countless blood-colored roots, was initially having a hard time. Now that the primordial demonic tree's speed had slowed down, it was much easier for him and he continuously cut off many roots. Chapter 3183. What's going on? It's recovering so quickly. However, not long after Night Sorrow cut off the roots, they began to recover by themselves and quickly recovered to their original state. The recovery speed was so fast that it made one's hair stand on end. If the ancient demon tree could maintain this recovery speed no matter how he cut it, it would not have any effect. This ancient demon tree's recovery ability should still be at the level of a half step to the supreme realm. If you don't think of a way, you can't rely on random cuts. While Night Sorrow was thinking, Little Seven reminded him. Yes, I understand. Night Sorrow replied. While thinking, he sent a voice transmission to Yunyi. Brother Yunyi, how long can you last? Although I'm not the ancient demon tree's match, I should be able to resist it for another hour. As for Xian Yin, he shouldn't be under too much pressure. Yunyi immediately replied after receiving Night Sorrow's voice transmission. At this moment, his face was very pale, which was caused by too much blood essence consumption. After replying to Night Sorrow, he once again fought with the ancient demon tree. As the strongest person, Yunyi was naturally in charge of restraining the ancient demon tree. Good. Then I understand. After Night Sorrow replied to Yunyi, he thought to himself, it seems that I have to greatly damage the ancient demon tree's vitality within an hour. Then I'll use the power of merit. I hope it's effective on the ancient demon tree. With that in mind, Night Sorrow immediately added the power of merit into his attacks. This power of merit was enveloped by a black aura and was almost unrecognizable. This time, after the ancient demon tree's roots were cut off, they continued to recover. However, the recovery speed was more than 100 times slower. It could no longer keep up with the speed of Night Sorrow's slashing. Discovering this situation, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "Very good. When I cut off all its roots, its strength will definitely be greatly reduced." Of course. However, I don't think the ancient demon tree will let you succeed so easily. Seeing that Night Sorrow's attack was effective, Little Seven immediately reminded him. At this time Night Sorrow said, I know. However, since the ancient demonic tree had diverted some of its attention to deal with me, the pressure on the other two would be greatly reduced. This was a good thing. After all, we still have strength to spare. After that, as Night Sorrow continued to cut off its roots, the ancient demon tree began to fight and its strength was greatly reduced. At this time he was completely enraged by Night Sorrow below. He controlled the root at the center and attacked Night Sorrow. This root looked like a black and red python. When they attacked from the ground, they caused the ground to shake. Night Sorrow, this is the core of the ancient devil tree. As long as we cut it down, even if the ancient devil tree doesn't die, it will be completely crippled. Upon seeing the ancient demonic tree's main root attack, Little Seven immediately warned. I got it. Night Sorrow replied. He held the golden heavenly halberd in his hand and fought with the root that was waving non-stop on the ground. This root was not very fast, but its strength was clearly half a step to the supreme realm. Night Sorrow attacked it a few times but did not have any effect at all. He immediately said, this ancient demonic tree's core is half a step to the supreme realm. I can't hurt it. At this time Little Seven reminded him, why don't we use the ancient coffin? Let's see if the ancient coffin can withstand the attack of half a step to the supreme realm. Alright. However, I don't want to cause too much of a commotion and expose the ancient coffin. Night Sorrow said as he fought against the root. Speaking of which, the ancient coffin was his life-saving trump card. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he did not want to expose it. In my opinion, if you don't use it now, your lives will all be lost here. This is your life-saving trump card. If you can't even protect your life, what's the point of it existing? When little Seven heard Night Sorrow's words, he immediately tried to persuade him. Do you think we will die here if we don't use the ancient coffin? After little Seven finished speaking, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice. At this point in the battle, he did not feel any danger at all. He was very surprised by little Seven's words. Yes. If you don't use the ancient coffin quickly, all three of you will die. This ancient demonic tree has been diverting his energy during the battle and trying to break the array formation. He is almost succeeding now. As long as he completely breaks the array formation that is suppressing him, he should be able to recover the strength of half a step to the Supreme Realm. All of you are definitely not his match. Little Seven said solemnly. He's breaking the array formation? Night Sorrow had been immersed in the battle earlier on and did not notice that the ancient demonic tree was breaking the array formation. The array formation in front of them did not suppress the three of them at all, but it suppressed the ancient demonic tree severely. If it was broken, the three of them would really be in danger. Yes. The restriction-breaking hammer, and I just found out about this. So you'd better hurry. Little Seven continued. He, Little Five, Little Nine, and the restriction-breaking hammer were linked to Night Sorrow for good or ill. During the battle, although they did not contribute much, they would carefully observe and remind him of some things. Don't worry. I won't be sloppy. Night Sorrow had always been a decisive person when it came to fighting. He discovered that the ancient demonic tree was secretly breaking the array formation. He did not hesitate and immediately took out the ancient coffin. When the ancient demonic tree's roots swept over, he suddenly blocked the ancient coffin in front of him. Boom. The core roots of the ancient demonic tree bombarded the outer layer of the ancient coffin but did not even break through the defense of the dark aura. It was directly broken by the impact. After the core roots broke, the ancient demonic tree let out an extremely painful roar. Then it directly uprooted itself from the ground and flew up with all the roots. Uprooted? What happened down there? Yunyi, who was fighting against the ancient demonic tree above, was shocked. He had felt the huge tremor just now, but because he was too focused on the battle, he only felt an extremely dark aura surging from below. He did not know about the ancient coffin at all. I'm not sure. Let's ask Night Demon. Shen Yin, who was still cutting the thousands of red roots, said. He also did not know what Night Sorrow had done down there, but he was very shocked. Because he knew that if Night Sorrow had not done something terrible down there, the ancient demonic tree would not have flown out so crazily. Brother Night Demon, what did you do down there? Why did the ancient demonic tree fly out? Yunyi immediately asked after Shen Yin finished speaking. I chopped off his core root, greatly reducing his strength. He should have fled first. Let's stop it together. As he replied, he suddenly broke out of the ground and chased after the ancient demonic tree. As for the ancient demonic tree that flew out of the ground, its body shrunk a lot and became a cultivator about the same height as Night Sorrow and the others. He looked coldly at Night Sorrow and said, Are you really going to kill all of us? Chapter 3184. I'm ruthless to you? You're the one who's heartless, aren't you? You've harmed so many cultivators. No matter how you die, you won't be able to pay for it. Night Sorrow said coldly when he saw the ancient demon tree transform into a cultivator. During the battle just now, although they tried their best to control it, many cultivators who had their blood essence sucked died immediately. This made him very worried about Baimei Sanren. He was afraid that he would also die because of this. He naturally did not want to let go of the ancient demon tree, the culprit. He was prepared to kill it quickly and then look for Baimei Sanren. Ah, you want me to pay with my life? Do you think you can do it with that thing in your hand? I'm not afraid to tell you that I, the ancient demon tree, am immortal. Otherwise, that Supreme Realm expert would have killed me long ago and not imprisoned me here. The ancient demonic tree laughed loudly. I feel that there's a trace of resentment in his laughter. If I'm not wrong, Night Sorrow, what you did just now completely cut off his chance to advance to the Supreme Realm. Little Seven, who was in the grotto heaven, immediately transmitted his voice when he heard the ancient demon tree's laughter. He could hear the grief and anger in the ancient demon tree's voice. I can hear it too. If I'm not wrong, he might be doing something crazy. Night Sorrow, who replied to Little Seven, had an ominous premonition. He felt that the ancient demon tree might be preparing some big move. After transmitting his voice to Little Seven, he transmitted his voice to Yunyi and Shen Yin, asking them to attack immediately. Then, the three of them used their ultimate skills at the same time and attacked the ancient demon tree who had transformed into a human. If not for that Supreme Realm expert who used the array to suppress me to this extent, how could you ants be my match? Seeing Night Sorrow and the rest attacking him together, the ancient demon tree who had transformed into a human, revealed a maniacal smile. Anyway, I no longer have the chance to advance to the Supreme Realm. Why don't I perish together with you here? The ancient demon tree didn't give Night Sorrow and the others a chance to react. It immediately exploded in the void. Although his cultivation base was being suppressed by the array, his body was basically at the level of a half-step to the Supreme Realm. The power of his self-destruction was extremely terrifying. In that instant, Yun Yi and Xian Yan's pupils contracted. They felt that this time, everyone would die here. All of you back off. At this moment, Night Sorrow roared and took out the ancient coffin again, blocking the three of them. The ancient demon tree's self-destruction had originally spread out in all directions. However, when Night Sorrow took out the ancient coffin, it actually sucked in all the attacks. What kind of artifact is this? So powerful. Yun Yi and Xian Yan, who were standing behind Night Sorrow, saw that the ancient coffin that Night Sorrow had taken out had directly absorbed the ancient demonic tree's self-destruction. Immediately he was shocked. After a long while, Yun Yi finally reacted and said, "Brother Night Demon, it's all thanks to your secret treasure this time. Otherwise all of us would have perished here. Both of us owe you our lives." Yes. For a moment just now, I thought that I would completely die. In my mind, many years of cultivation memories flashed through some of my mind. I even recalled some of my dusty memories from the Eternal Supreme Realm. Xian Yan also said, "Eternal Supreme Realm? Brother Xian Yan, did you come from there?" Night Sorrow asked in a puzzled tone, changing the topic of the ancient coffin. "Yes. I had already forgotten about it. Now I remember it again. I'll tell you too, you must remember to keep it a secret for me," Xian Yan said, and then told them some of his things in the Eternal Supreme Realm. What's there to say? Didn't we all come from the Eternal Supreme Realm? After listening to Xian Yan, Yun Yi laughed. In fact, the two of them had been plundered into the fog by Mia's subordinates, and some of their memories had been erased. But in the process of cultivation for many years, they had already remembered the Eternal Supreme Realm and knew where they came from. It was just that the surrounding cultivators were used to living in the fog. And they knew that the Eternal Supreme Realm was a taboo topic, so they did not dare to mention it at all. At this time, Xian Yan's words reminded Yun Yi of some memories. "Forget it. No matter what happened in the past, we are already cultivators in the fog. There's no need to mention it." Xian Yan sighed and then said, "By the way, Brother Yun, let's make a heavenly oath about Brother Night Demon's ancient coffin. I promise not to leak it out. Only an oath is the most reliable. It's meaningless to make empty promises." Okay. Everyone has something to save their lives. I, Yun Yi, swear that I will never leak out Brother Night Demon's ancient coffin. Otherwise I will die without a burial place. When Yun Yi heard Xian Yan's words, he immediately swore. Needless to say, Xian Yan swore an even more serious heavenly oath. Then he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Brother Night Demon, you have saved me twice. If you need any help in the future, just ask. Whether I can do it or not, I will do my best to help." "Thank you, Brother Xian Yan," Night Sorrow said with a smile. He did not say what he wanted to do. After all, he wanted to go to the Sea of Evil and snatch Little Ape back. This matter could not be casually revealed. "You don't have to be polite with me in the future," Xian Yan said with a smile. "Me too. If you need anything, just ask." Yun Yi also promised and then continued, "Didn't you say that you came here to look for a friend called Bai Mei? Now that the ancient demonic tree is dead, hurry up and search. I'm already using my spiritual strength to search." At this time, Night Sorrow was already using his spiritual strength to search for his target in the array. However, when he scanned the thousands of cultivators on the ground one by one, he did not find Bai Mei Sanren at all. Therefore, he penetrated the ground with his spiritual strength and continued to search. Finally, following the broken roots of the ancient demonic tree, he successfully found the missing Bai Mei Sanren even deeper underground. "Brother, I finally found you." In a narrow space he found Bai Mei Sanren and a few others. Night Sorrow sighed. At this time Bai Mei Sanren's face was even paler than Yun Ye's after the battle. Brother Yi, I thought that I would die here this time. I didn't expect that I would be saved by you again. I won't say any words of gratitude. Let's face the difficulties in the future together." Although Bai Mei Sanren did not have much strength left, he still said these words firmly. "Brother, don't mention it. I'll bring you all back." Night Sorrow said, and brought the few cultivators who were still alive up to the surface. Then he gave them some pills to help them recover. At this time Baimei Sanren said, "Brother Night Sorrow, this monster has dealt with many cultivators over the years. He doesn't need any resources, so I guess there must be a place to hide treasures nearby. Why don't you search carefully?" Chapter 3185. If this ancient demon tree wants to increase its strength, it can rely on absorbing cultivators' blood essence. Resources are useless to it. Since they are useless, it will not collect them. But divine weapons and secret treasures are still useful to it. It should collect some. When Night Sorrow heard Baimei Sanren's words, he felt enlightened. After speaking to Yunyi and Xianyan, he began to look around to see if he could find any secret treasures or divine weapons. After searching for a while, he really did find a small treasure trove underground. There were many divine weapons of cultivators in this treasure vault, but 99% of them were earthly supremes. Only 2 of them were heavenly supremes. Although these 2 heavenly supremes had been casually thrown into the treasure vault, they did not lose their edge. One of them was the 1-meter sword. It shone with a cold light and looked very murderous. The other was a cauldron. This cauldron was also heavenly supremes, but its aura was much stronger than the 1-meter sword. It was not ordinary at all. What a great cauldron! When the 3 of them found the cauldron, Yunyi immediately praised it. Then he said, "But I don't know how to refine weapons. If one of you is good at refining weapons, you can take it." "I don't know how to refine weapons either. At our level, we don't need to refine weapons. Divine weapons can absorb resources on their own. If Brother Night Demon is interested in this, you can take it." Xian Yin had no intention of taking it. He usually did not refine weapons and did not know how to control such things in battle. Hearing their words, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "I used to like refining weapons. I even relied on refining weapons to earn resources. But it has been many years since I used a cauldron to refine weapons. Since you are proficient in this, take it." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Yunyi and Xian Yin spoke at the same time. "Then I will take it as anything. Let's see if I can refine weapons with it and improve the quality of weapons." Night Sorrow did not think much of it and kept the cauldron in front of him in his space grotto heaven. After keeping it, he tried to communicate with the bronze cauldron and confirmed that it did not have an artifact spirit. After observing the cauldron for a while, he realized that there were 9 dragons on the outside of the cauldron. This reminded Night Sorrow of the 8 Dragons Cauldron. He immediately named it the 9-Dragon Cauldron. 9-Dragon Cauldron, not a bad name. After Night Sorrow named it the 9-Dragon Cauldron, Baimei Sanren said with a smile. At this moment, he was startled and said, "I suddenly remembered that Lord Yan's cauldron was called the 9 Dragons Cauldron. It can't be the one in your hand, right?" Even if Senior Yan's cauldron isn't a Supreme-class divine artifact, it should be at least a half-step Supreme-class divine artifact, right? This 9-Dragon Cauldron is clearly only at the level of a Heavenly Supreme. After Baimei Sanren finished speaking, Night Sorrow made his own judgment. "You're right. However, I still feel that this is not a coincidence. Do you think this cauldron is temporarily covered in dust and will recover to an extremely high grade in the future?" Baimei Sanren guessed as he sized up the 9-Dragon Cauldron. "Perhaps." After hearing Baimei Sanren's words, Night Sorrow used the power of his divine spirit to carefully sense the 9-Dragon Cauldron. However, he did not discover anything, so he did not dwell on this topic. After that, he, Yunyi and Xuanyan cleaned up the battlefield and collected all the items in the treasure trove. As for the cultivators whose blood essence was constantly being absorbed by the ancient demonic tree, only Baimei Sanren and the other new cultivators whose blood essence was being absorbed did not consume too much and could be saved. The others were basically only left with 1 life, and it was difficult to save them. The 3 of them decided to leave this mess to the city lord and did not follow up. After returning to the city lord's residence, Night Sorrow returned Centurion Heichi's men and asked Baimei Sanren to be his subordinate. He let him cultivate with the war demon and the others and complete missions. Knowing that Baimei Sanren was Night Sorrow's friend, the war demon and the others took great care of him. As for Night Sorrow, he chose to go into seclusion. While he was studying the calligraphy with the restriction-breaking hammer, he was studying the 9-Dragon Cauldron and constantly using it to refine weapons. He wanted to use it to improve the quality of the golden heavenly halberd. After more than 20 years of research, he really succeeded in improving the golden heavenly halberd by refining it again. He wanted the golden heavenly halberd to become a supreme-grade heavenly supreme divine weapon. However, in order to deceive others, he had refined the golden heavenly halberd into a greenish-black color. It no longer had a resplendent golden appearance, and the light around it was much dimmer and more reserved. When Night Sorrow came out of seclusion, there were only a dozen years left before the city lord of Sea Dragon City would head to the Sea of Evil. In the previous few battles, most of the cultivators of Sea Dragon City were no match for Sea Dragon. While the casualties were serious, they also embarrassed the city lord of Sea Dragon City. This made him feel suffocated. He had already used a lot of money to recruit some geniuses who could fight across realms. Among them there were even people from Lutian Academy. As for the remaining spots, the city lord of Sea Dragon City was prepared to find them from his own team. Therefore he gave the order to Yun Yi and the other centurions. Every centurion's team had to provide at least 2 spots. Night Sorrow had just come out of seclusion when Yun Yi came to him and told him about this matter. He wanted him to fight. "No problem, I can fight," Yun Yi said. Night Sorrow did not choose to reject. "That's great. As for the other spot, I'm still having a headache. Those sea dragons are incomparably ferocious and powerful. It's very difficult to deal with them. No one wants to fight." After Night Sorrow agreed, Yun Yi said with a headache. Although the cultivators under him were quite strong, none of them stood out from the rest. At this time no one dared to step forward. "If there's really no one, why don't I help Brother Yun find one?" Night Sorrow immediately said when he heard that. "Oh, Brother Night Demon, do you have a suitable candidate?" Yun Yi was instantly energized when he heard that. To be honest, Night Demon just entered Lutian Academy a few years ago. I still have some acquaintances there. If you give me some resources, I should be able to invite them, Night Sorrow said truthfully. This was the first time he had revealed his identity from Lutian Academy. "So Brother Night Demon is a genius from Lutian Academy. No wonder you can fight with a heavenly sovereign with the cultivation of a middle earthly sovereign. If you can invite a genius from Lutian Academy, that would be great." Yun Yi said, then continued, "As for how much resources you have to pay, I'll bear it. The city lord spent a lot of resources to invite that genius from Lutian Academy. I know that. No need. Just leave this matter to me, it'll be fine. After all, we're friends. That person probably won't ask for too much from me." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he looked at Yun Yi and said, "Brother Yun Yi, there's no time to lose. I'll return to Lutian Academy immediately to invite that person. Help me take care of that friend of mine. At the very least, don't let him die during the mission." Yun Yi had thought of imparting the 100-word mantra to Night Sorrow when he had found out that Night Sorrow had come from the Killer Heaven Academy. At this moment he finally said it out loud. "I didn't expect there to be such a righteous person in the misty area." Night Sorrow was touched by Yun Yi's words. According to his understanding, the cultivators in the fog were all bloodthirsty and evil. However, after interacting with Yun Yi for a period of time, she found that he had a good character. Shen Yin was not bad either. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow said, "I understand Brother Yun Yi's good intentions and I do want to learn it. But I can't learn it for free. I'll also teach you an absolute art." Yun Yi was very righteous in this matter, and Night Sorrow felt that he could not take advantage of him. After thinking for a while, he felt that he should return the favor. "Brother Night Demon, you don't have to be so polite with me. There's no need to be so polite between us." Yun Yi immediately laughed when he heard Night Sorrow's words. He and Shen Yin had become close friends because they had similar temperaments. In this cold misty area, some feelings were more or less important. Now he realized that the Night Sorrow in front of him also cared about feelings, and he felt more and more familiar with him. "That's that. You can't let me enjoy all the benefits alone," Night Sorrow then said, "Brother Yun Yi, I'll teach you an absolute art now. It's called Azure Sea Tide." With that, Night Sorrow imparted the Azure Territory's divine ability, Azure Sea Tide. Then he said, "I got this in the Eternal Supreme Realm. Brother Yun Yi, you should be able to master it if you study it well. This is not a dual-eye absolute art. This is the territory divine ability of the Eternal Supreme Realm. This kind of thing is very precious." After learning the Azure Sea Tide, Yun Yi's eyes widened. He had never expected that Night Sorrow would teach him a divine ability directly. One had to know that although most people in the Misty area came from the Eternal Supreme Realm, they had mastered very few divine abilities. In total, there should be no more than 100 divine abilities. Therefore this divine ability was extremely precious. Is this called a divine ability? After Yunyi finished speaking, Night Sorrow pretended to be puzzled and asked. In fact, how could he not know about divine abilities? Yes, this is called a divine ability, and it's the most precious thing in the eternal supreme realm. In the misty area, its value is even higher. Yunyi said excitedly. Then he took out a scroll from the space grotto heaven. He handed it to Night Sorrow and said, "This is the scroll left behind by my master. The 100-word mantra is recorded in it. You can comprehend it yourself. If you follow my path, I'm afraid you can only comprehend a dozen words." Thank you, Brother Yunyi. After all, he had given away the divine ability, so Night Sorrow had no qualms about accepting this scroll. Then he asked, "Brother Yunyi, is there a cultivation room in your mansion? Anyway, there's still time. I want to study this scroll." "Of course, I'll take you underground." Yunyi immediately took Night Sorrow out of the study and went to the underground cultivation room in the mansion. After entering the cultivation room, Yunyi looked at Night Sorrow and said, "I'm a little short on money, so I only have a cultivation room with twice the time acceleration. You can make do with it." Time acceleration? That's already very good. When Night Sorrow heard this, he calculated and confirmed that he had about 12 to 16 hours to cultivate. Immediately he felt very satisfied. "Then you can cultivate here by yourself. I'll go out and study the Azure Sea." After saying this, Yunyi immediately went into the cultivation room. Night Sorrow unfolded the scroll that Yunyi had given him, laid it flat on the ground and began to read it. When he first read it, he felt that the words in front of him did not seem to have any charm, and there was no explanation in it. He was not sure what to do. Therefore, he opened the sea serpent's eye and observed carefully. 4 hours passed just like that. At this moment, Yishan suddenly discovered that one of the characters was actually moving on its own. It turned into the appearance of a cultivator in the void and used an ice attribute attack. Chapter 3187. Is this the Ice Word Mantra? Night Sorrow quickly learned the ultimate technique of the Ice Word Mantra after seeing the cultivator formed by the Ice Word Mantra. After using it, he realized that his ice attribute attack was very powerful. He was immediately satisfied with the Ice Word Mantra of the 100-word mantra. Although its power could not be compared to the Divine Spear, it was not something that an ordinary ice attribute cultivator could use. It was very mysterious. This Ice Word Mantra is not bad. I'm not sure. What about the other ultimate techniques? Is this 100-word mantra actually made up of 100 ultimate techniques? Night Sorrow knew that learning the Ice Word Mantra was nothing, but if he understood all of the 100-word mantra, it would not be easy to master all of the 100-word mantra. After that, Night Sorrow continued to study. In 12 hours he had comprehended 3 words: the Ice Word Mantra, the Seal Word Mantra, and the Time Word Mantra. Yunyi had once used the Seal Word Mantra in the battle with the ancient demon tree. Its effect was similar to the Divine Essence Trapping Array. But it was also different. If it succeeded, it could imprison the opponent on the spot. This was a very impressive ability. If the opponent was too strong after using it, it could reduce the opponent's speed. As for the Time Word Mantra, it could make the opponent make a wrong judgment of time, almost creating an illusion. It was also very mysterious. Yunyi had not mastered this move. After mastering the 3 words, Night Sorrow did not continue to study it and left the cultivation room. He knew that the time for the City Lord's banquet was approaching. If he did not go out now, he might cause trouble. "Brother Night Demon, did you learn anything?" After Night Sorrow appeared, Yunyi immediately asked with interest. At this moment, Xianyin had also arrived and was standing side by side with Yunyi. When he heard this, he also looked at Night Sorrow. After all, he had studied it for a long time back then, but did not understand anything at all. After that, he had completely given up. "I learned something," Night Sorrow said, and used the Ice Word Mantra on Yunyi and Xianyin. The Ice Word Mantra suddenly exploded near the two of them. Xianyin didn't quite understand what was going on, but Yunyi laughed and said, "Good, very good. To be able to comprehend the ice symbol formula within a few hours, Brother Night Demon, you're indeed a genius of the Killer Heaven Academy." Lucky. The humble Night Sorrow did not use the seal formula or the time formula. He was afraid that he would scare the two of them. After all, Yunyi had told him that he had only comprehended a dozen or so words after studying 1 or 2 reincarnations. "Ah, you're too humble." Yunyi patted Night Sorrow's shoulder with satisfaction and said, "Gentlemen, it's about time. Follow me to the city lord's estate for the banquet. No matter what, we're the masters of Sea Dragon City. We can't let our guests wait. Good. Brother Yunyi, please lead the way. Night Sorrow nodded and followed behind Yunyi with Xian Yan. In private, the three of them were friends, but in the eyes of outsiders, Xian Yan was Yunye's deputy, and Night Sorrow was his decurion. The city lord's mansion is right in front. Let me tell you a secret. The city lord is a man with a story. His name in the outside world is fake and no one knows his real name. You can just call him the city lord. Yunyi told Night Sorrow and Xian Yan as they approached the core of the city lord's mansion. Xian Yan was not too surprised, but Night Sorrow had heard of the city lord's story for the first time. He immediately sent a voice transmission to Yunyi. What story does the city lord have? Centurions like us don't know either. Also, you have to understand that although the city lord is an upper heavenly sovereign, he's extremely powerful. He's definitely not someone we can compare to, so we can't offend him. Yunyi said after thinking for a while. Although the city lord was only a small level higher than him, his strength was unfathomable. Yunyi was usually very afraid of him. Could it be that the city lord is not an upper heavenly sovereign, but a half-step to supreme realm expert? Xian Yan asked curiously. Logically speaking, an ordinary upper heavenly sovereign should not be able to give Yunyi so much pressure, so he was more curious. It's not impossible. It could also be that the city lord was once a half-step to supreme realm expert, but later experienced something that caused his cultivation to drop to upper heavenly sovereign. Yunyi analyzed and continued, the city lord's means are heaven-defying, so let's not talk about it anymore. As they spoke, the three of them arrived at the core of the city lord's mansion. The courtyard where the city lord of Sea Dragon City lived. Standing outside the courtyard, Night Sorrow looked inside and realized that the place where the city lord lived looked somewhat familiar. It looked a little like the city lord's mansion in the realm of the gods. He was very surprised. He thought to himself, could it be that the city lord of Sea Dragon City was from the realm of the gods before he was corroded by the fog? He likes buildings like the realm of the gods, so he built it here? Let's go in. Just as Yi Shang was puzzled, Yunyi suddenly said, don't worry. He had just greeted the city lord of Sea Dragon City through the voice transmission stone. Okay, let's go. Night Sorrow responded and followed behind Yunyi. They landed on the ground and walked into the courtyard. As they walked slowly, the more Night Sorrow looked at it, the more it looked like the city of the gods, and the doubts in his heart grew. He felt more and more that the city lord of Sea Dragon City might be related to the city of the gods. Brother Night Demon, why are you a little absent-minded? As they walked in, Xian Yan, who was standing beside Night Sorrow, asked. It's nothing. It's just that these pavilions are very similar to the hometown in my memory, but it's very vague. Night Sorrow casually found an excuse and continued to walk in with Yunyi and Xian Yan. When they arrived, they found that some of the experts invited by the city lord of Sea Dragon City had already arrived. One of them was fighting with Centurion He Qi. This person was a lower heavenly sovereign, but he had been suppressing Centurion He Qi, who was a middle heavenly sovereign. Night Sorrow glanced at him and felt that his aura was somewhat familiar, but he had never met him before. He thought to himself, this person should be the expert that the city lord of Sea Dragon City invited from Lutian Academy, right? Looks like he should be considered a mediocre person in Lutian Academy. Although the person in front of him could fight beyond his level, in Night Sorrow's opinion, he was much weaker than Lin Dongqing, who was also a lower heavenly sovereign. Lin Dongqing was only a student from the previous batch, so Night Sorrow judged that the person in front of him, no matter which batch he was from, should be a mediocre one. The city lord is watching with interest. Let's not go up to greet him for now. Let's wait until the battle is over. At this moment, Yunyi spoke to the two of them and led them to a small table beside the city lord. They watched the battle together. Night Sorrow secretly glanced at the city lord of Sea Dragon City. Chapter 3188. He noticed that this Sea Dragon City governor was not considered handsome among the male cultivators, but he gave people a feeling of showing off his ability. He looked like a sharp sword that could take people's lives from thousands of miles away. At first glance, he was not a simple person. The kind of sharpness on his body was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. This is an expert. I feel that he is not an ordinary upper heavenly supreme. After a little judgment, Night Sorrow felt that this Sea Dragon City governor was not simple. At this moment, the Sea Dragon City governor found that someone was looking at him, and he immediately looked at Night Sorrow. Governor. Being looked at like this, Night Sorrow immediately felt like he was locked on by two sword rays. He immediately cupped his fists and gestured. Yun Yi and Shen Yan, who were watching the battle, also looked at the governor at the same time and called out. The Sea Dragon City governor saw that the person was brought by Yun Yi, and his aura was not bad, so he knew that Night Sorrow was a contestant. So he hummed and did not make a fuss about it. At this time, the battle between the genius of Lu Tian Academy, Fan Tu, and Centurion He Chi had reached the climax. Centurion He Chi was being suppressed continuously, and he was obviously losing face. He had begun to use all kinds of trump cards. After all, he was a middle heavenly supreme and he had a certain advantage in terms of realm. He used all his means to turn the situation around in an instant. The two of them were evenly matched in the battle. In this case, Fan Tu glanced at the Sea Dragon City governor and did not use his strongest means. He only used some of the means that he had just used, and he was evenly matched with Centurion He Chi. At this time, the Sea Dragon City governor, who saw Fan Tu holding back, said, "Since it's a competition, let's stop here." He Chi, you lost. Governor He Chi is useless. Hearing this, Centurion He Chi immediately stopped. He knelt down on one knee and said to the Sea Dragon City governor, "It's okay. Fan Tu is a top genius of Lu Tian Academy, it's normal that you can't beat him." The Sea Dragon City governor comforted Centurion He Chi, and waved to Fan Tu saying, "Take a seat and watch the others fight." Fan Tu was very arrogant, but the Sea Dragon City governor still gave him an irrefutable feeling. "Yes, City Lord." Fan Tu cupped his hands toward the master of Sea Dragon City and was about to enter his seat. At this moment, Fan Tu glanced at the crowd and suddenly saw Night Sorrow. He was stunned. Then he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Ha! I didn't expect that you would come to Sea Dragon City. Do you know how much effort it took Brother Dongqing to find you?" "Lin Dongqing? Are you one of his men?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow was puzzled. He had killed Lin Dongqing's clan brother, and Lin Dongqing had coveted his ancient coffin. The hatred between the two of them was very difficult to resolve. He knew that if Fan Tu was Lin Dongqing's man, he would definitely cause trouble for him. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Fan Tu sneered and said, "You're also from the Killer Heaven Academy. You should know that Lin Dongqing is the strongest person in our batch. You are his enemy, which means you are our enemy. So you're his lackey?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow understood that Lin Dongqing should have defeated all the people in the previous batch. Fan Tu should have also chosen to surrender, but he didn't say it so directly because he wanted to save face. Night Sorrow, who knew that it would not be easy to resolve their differences, sneered coldly. "Bastard. Night Devil, you're courting death. Come out, let's fight." Being ridiculed by Night Sorrow, Fan Tu immediately became furious and provoked Night Sorrow. "Both of you, can you listen to me?" Before Night Sorrow could answer, the master of Sea Dragon City opened his mouth and said. According to his character, speaking like this was already very respectful. "Please speak, City Lord." Fan Tu also knew that he and Night Sorrow had stolen the limelight, so he immediately said politely. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. At this time, the master of Sea Dragon City said, "Both of you are geniuses invited by Sea Dragon City with a lot of money. Is this true?" "Yes, City Lord." After the master of Sea Dragon City said this, Fan Tu immediately responded. Night Sorrow still didn't speak because he felt that there was no need to answer. At this time, Yun Yi transmitted a message to the master of Sea Dragon City, telling him the relationship between Night Sorrow and himself. Hearing Yun Ye's words, the master of Sea Dragon City transmitted a message, "Well, I understand." Then the master of Sea Dragon City said coldly, "Since both of you are invited by Sea Dragon City, shouldn't you fight here?" "Yes, City Lord. Our enmity will be settled after I've helped you with your matter." After the master of Sea Dragon City finished speaking, Fan Tu's momentum immediately weakened. This time, the resources offered by Sea Dragon City made him very excited. And the master of Sea Dragon City was also a strong person, so he didn't dare to disobey him. After all, his family was different from the big family behind Lin Dongqing. Walking in the foggy area, he didn't have the capital to be blocked. In that case, both of you should watch the battle at ease. After the master of Sea Dragon City finished speaking, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Night Devil, right? What do you think?" "I think it's not a big deal to have a fight here to liven things up for everyone. As a cultivator, if our thoughts are not clear, it's not good for cultivation. Let's have a fight to clear our thoughts. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He had just comprehended the three-word formula, and he saw that Fantu's body was a dragon. In Yan's cave he had learned a unique skill called the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill. This unique skill was not inferior to superpowers at all, and its value was similar to superpowers, but it was specially designed for dragons. At this time, Night Sorrow was ready to test the effect of the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill. Oh, you, a middle earthly sovereign, want to challenge a lower heavenly sovereign? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the master of Sea Dragon City asked doubtfully. In fact, what he had just said was already considered to be defending Night Sorrow. After all, the gap between their realms was huge and Fantu could defeat Centurion Heichi. Everyone present was not very optimistic about Night Sorrow. At this time he took the initiative to issue a challenge, which naturally surprised the Master of Sea Dragon City and the others present. Master of Sea Dragon City, he took the initiative to issue a challenge. Fantu has no reason to refuse. Master of Sea Dragon City, please grant his wish. When Fantu heard Night Sorrow's words, he suddenly became energetic and released a strong fighting spirit. Yes. Since it's the common wish of both of you, I'll grant your wish. But remember, don't go too far. Otherwise I'll stop you. Seeing Night Sorrow's confident look, the Master of Sea Dragon City suddenly became interested. After all, Night Sorrow's realm was much lower than Fantu's. Both of them were geniuses of the Lutian Academy, so it should be difficult for Night Sorrow to have a chance to defeat him. Therefore this made him look forward to it even more. He wanted to see how he could unexpectedly challenge the other party. Chapter 3189. Night Devil, how dare you challenge me? Do you think you can fight across realms just because you're the top genius of Lutian Academy? Fantu, who had been sitting down, immediately stood up after Night Sorrow spoke. He said disdainfully, "Now, I'll let you know the difference between heaven and earth." Fantu purposely said that Night Sorrow was the top genius of Lutian Academy. Of course he did not mean to brag for Night Sorrow. He wanted to elevate himself by using Night Sorrow's identity. After all, if he won he would have defeated the top genius of Lutian Academy, which would be very honorable. After Fantu spoke, everyone, including Yun Yi and the governor of Sea Dragon City, realized that Night Sorrow was the top genius of Lutian Academy. In this way they had some confidence in Night Sorrow. Then come out. However, although the governor's mansion has activated the defensive formation, it may not be able to block our attacks. Let's fight in the void. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he flew directly into the void. Who's afraid of you? Fantu was not convinced by Night Sorrow's challenge. He immediately flew into the void. Then he laughed wildly and said, "I'll let you have 3 moves first. Otherwise you, the top genius of Lutian Academy, will be defeated before you even have a chance to fight. No wonder you're Lin Dongqing's lackey. You have bad taste." Night Sorrow looked at Fantu disdainfully and said, "You go first. 3 moves are enough for me to defeat you. If I use 3 moves you'll be defeated and won't have a chance to fight." According to Night Sorrow's judgment, apart from the ancient coffin, only 3 moves would work on Fantu. The 100-word mantra, the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill, and the Qingshen Godly Spear Technique. As for the Divine Vitality Trap Formation, it would be used together with the seal formula of the 100-word mantra. It should be counted as 1 move. Arrogant. Then I, Fantu, would like to see what else the top genius of Lutian Academy can do besides boasting. Being mocked by Yi Shang, Fantu flew into a rage. He spat out a mouthful of dragon breath at Night Sorrow. Fantu did not use any of the dragon's moves when he was fighting Centurion Haki. Now that he was fighting Night Sorrow, the first thing he did was to use it. On the surface, Fantu was disdainful of this year's number 1, but in fact he valued him very much. As expected, when fighting instinctively, I still have to use the dragon's techniques. Azure Phoenix Battle Armor. Night Sorrow roared as he activated his Azure Phoenix Battle Armor. Blazing flames burst out from his body and collided with Fantu's dragon breath. At the same time he opened the 33 Heavens Combat Arcane skill and adjusted his condition to the peak. He knew clearly that he couldn't be careless when fighting against a genius like Fantu's day, otherwise, he would be at a disadvantage. Boom. When the flames of the two collided, a loud explosion was heard. The entire void was dyed red. Neither side suffered any injuries, so it could be considered a draw. Good. They are indeed two geniuses. Seeing the first exchange between Night Sorrow and Fan Tu, the mayor of Sea Dragon City immediately praised. In his heart he admired Night Sorrow. After all, geniuses were common, but it was rare to see a genius who could surpass so many levels. You have some skills, but it's not enough. Fan Tu's dragon breath was just a simple test. Seeing that Night Sorrow had blocked his attack, he immediately took out his divine weapon, Dragon Soul Inverse Scale Spear. Suddenly he attacked Night Sorrow with his unique skill, Azure Dragon Heaven Defying Slash. The Dragon Soul Inverse Scale Spear immediately lit up with endless light. The void was completely illuminated. What a strong attack. But in front of me it's all in vain. Facing Fan Tu's Azure Dragon Heaven Defying Slash, Night Sorrow could clearly feel the great pressure. At this moment he didn't dare to be careless and let his opponent do whatever he wanted. Instead, he silently recited the incantation and used the Ice Word Formula and the Seal Word Formula. Then he waved his hand and used the Divine Vitality Trap Array. Fan Tu's attack speed was greatly reduced. Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill. After reducing Fan Tu's attack speed, Night Sorrow immediately performed the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill. This skill was performed. Fan Tu, who was originally in his human form, was immediately forced to transform into his dragon form. Above the void behind Night Sorrow, a huge shadow of rock appeared. What kind of skill is this? Fan Tu, who was in his dragon form, suddenly contracted his pupils. The image of the Kuan Peng behind Yishang made him feel extremely uncomfortable. It felt like there was something suppressing him in the dark, making it difficult for him to even form a counterattack. Kill? After Night Sorrow performed the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill and summoned the Shadow of Rock, he immediately roared. He attacked Fan Tu with the Qing Shen Superpower Formula. At the same time, the huge rock behind him flapped its wings and flew up, grabbing at Fan Tu, who was in his dragon form. Bastard, why do I feel like I can't resist? Fan Tu, whose divine soul was trembling, had no way to deal with the Shadow of Rock summoned by Night Sorrow. Without putting up much of a fight, he was captured. At this time, Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd had completely arrived, bombarding Fan Tu continuously. Although Fan Tu was one of the best among the lower heavenly sovereigns, he could fight with ordinary middle heavenly sovereigns. But it was still very uncomfortable to face Night Sorrow's bombardment with his body. In an instant, the void was dyed red by dragon blood. At this moment, the others were immersed in Night Sorrow's Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill. That huge Kuan Peng was simply too shocking. At this time, the governor of Sea Dragon City looked at Night Sorrow with a complicated expression, even forgetting to stop. The Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill that Night Sorrow had just performed gave him a familiar feeling. But he couldn't remember what was going on. Governor, shouldn't we stop now? If we continue to fight, I'm afraid someone will die. If the genius of the Lu Tian Academy dies here, it won't be good for our reputation. And it will affect the fight in the Sea of Evil. Seeing that the governor of Sea Dragon City was distracted, the military counselor immediately advised him. Oh, that makes sense. The governor of Sea Dragon City, who came back to his senses, calmed down and said, Night Devil, the purpose of the fight has been achieved. Let Fan Tu go. Okay. This person can be released. Night Sorrow responded to the governor of Sea Dragon City, then looked at Fan Tu, who was captured by the rock, and said, Do you admit defeat? No, how can I, Fan Tu, admit defeat? If you have the guts, kill me in front of the governor of Sea Dragon City. Although Fan Tu, who was captured, had no way to break the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill, he was very stubborn. He felt that Night Sorrow would not dare to kill him in front of the governor of Sea Dragon City. Do you think I don't dare to kill you in front of the governor of Sea Dragon City? You think too much. I'll give you one last chance. You can choose to lower your head or turn around. Seeing that Fan Tu was unwilling to lower his head, Night Sorrow said coldly, without any intention of indulging him. Chapter 3190. I just don't believe that you dare to kill me in front of the governor of Sea Dragon City. After Night Sorrow finished his words, Fan Tu said coldly, If you let me go today, I will definitely kill you in the future. Do it if you dare. Ah, how dare you provoke me in this situation? Do you really think I won't dare to kill you? After Night Sorrow finished his words, he directly shot Fan Tu and transmitted his voice. One of my hidden missions is to kill 20 people from the academy. You are the second one. There is one thing you don't understand. That is, the tea cools down when the person is gone. No matter what I do, the governor of Sea Dragon City won't care about a dead person. Go to hell. In fact, if Fan 2 had given in, Night Sorrow would have let him go. But he had been stubborn. In this way, Night Sorrow didn't want to spoil him anymore. He killed him directly. After killing him, Night Sorrow cupped his fist and said to the governor of Sea Dragon City, "Your Excellency, Night Demon killed Fan 2, and I will bear the responsibility alone. And I will invite someone from Lutian Academy to replace him. Well, if you don't give in, you will die." In this regard, the governor of Sea Dragon City didn't say anything. For him, Fan 2 was just an invited helper. At this time, Night Sorrow promised to invite someone from Lutian Academy, so he had nothing to worry about. After all, killing people in a duel was too normal in the foggy area. At this time he suddenly said, "Night Demon, what is the name of the unique skill you just used? It looks familiar to me, but I remember what's going on." "Your Excellency, the unique skill that Night Demon just used is called the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill." Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the governor of Sea Dragon City and continued, "Besides, I want to ask you, did you build your mansion by yourself?" "I built it according to some of my memories." The governor of Sea Dragon City didn't hide and answered Night Sorrow directly. "Is this building from your hometown? Or somewhere else?" "The place where the Night Devil came from has a similar building." Night Sorrow continued to transmit his voice. He wanted to confirm if the mayor of Sea Dragon City was someone from the celestial realm. After all, the buildings in front of them were very similar to those in the God realm. "Is there a pavilion like this in the place where you were born?" Hearing this, the Sea Dragon City Lord immediately perked up. After he woke up in a cave, he couldn't remember who he was. Occasionally, some images would appear in his mind, but they were all very blurry. This made him very vexed that he did not know his true identity at all. "Yes. If the time is right in the future, I can bring the City Lord to my hometown to take a look." Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the Sea Dragon City Lord. Naturally, he wouldn't choose to bring him to the Eternal Supreme Realm now. If the Sea Dragon City governor lost control, he would most likely destroy the entire Firmament City. "Good. If you feel that the time is right, you can look for me at any time and we can go together. If you can help you regain your memories, you will be greatly rewarded." The Sea Dragon City Master transmitted his voice and continued, "There have been quite a few battles today. Compared to everyone, I've already had my fill. Next, everyone, let's drink to our heart's content. We won't go home until we're drunk." Under his organization, everyone drank to their heart's content amidst the smell of blood. For cultivators in the fog area, drinking in this kind of aura was a normal thing. When the banquet was almost over, the Sea Dragon City Lord transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow again. "Why is the aura on your body so strange?" "Why does the City Lord say that?" When the Sea Dragon City Lord said this, Night Sorrow was a little surprised, but he controlled his emotions very well. "I don't think you're from the fog area." The Sea Dragon City Lord continued. The City Lord must be joking. If the Night Devil isn't from the fog area, why would he appear here? Hearing the Sea Dragon City Lord say this, Night Sorrow's cold sweat flowed down his body. If his identity as the Eternal Supreme Realm was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. But at this moment, the Sea Dragon City Lord continued to transmit his voice. "Don't be afraid. Actually, it doesn't matter where you come from. I only have two goals. The first is to break through the extreme realm, and the second is to figure out who you are. Whether you're from the fog area, the Eternal Supreme Realm, or other realms, I don't care. What I care about is whether you can help me regain my memories. Do you understand?" "The Night Devil understands." Night Sorrow replied with lingering fear. He didn't expect that he would be seen through. So he continued to ask, how did the City Lord see through the Night Devil's identity? Since he had been seen through, he had no intention of being stubborn. Extreme realm powerhouses have a special ability to see through the essence of all things in the world. I might have been an extreme realm powerhouse in the past. Although I only have the strength of an upper heavenly supreme now, I can see through many things. The Sea Dragon City Lord didn't hold back and slowly explained the matter. Extreme realm powerhouse? Hearing this, Night Sorrow was shocked. According to what he had heard, there were only 5 extreme realm powerhouses in the Eternal Supreme Realm in the fog area. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow asked in shock, "Could it be that you are Senior Yin?" "Yin. This name is so familiar." Hearing this, the Sea Dragon City Lord was stunned. Then he said, It shouldn't be. In my memory, Yin seems to be a woman. I seem to be very familiar with her. Who exactly am I? Clearly, he had fallen into a state of confusion. Think about it carefully, City Lord. If there's nothing else, the Night Devil will rush back to Lu Tian Academy first. Night Sorrow saw that the Sea Dragon City Lord was not in a good state and immediately spoke. Don't worry. At this moment, the Sea Dragon City Lord transmitted his voice and continued, if you return to Lu Tian Academy like this and those 3 top existences bump into you, your identity will definitely be exposed and completely corroded. At that time you will forget where you came from. How about this? I'll help you. As he spoke, the Sea Dragon City Lord struck out a palm at Night Sorrow. This palm strike unleashed an endless storm. Once the storm appeared, it immediately wrapped around Night Sorrow's body. Surrounded by this black storm, Night Sorrow's aura immediately became even more evil and deep. After doing all this, the Sea Dragon City Lord said, this storm is a supreme realm mark, although you will still be seen by those existences. But they will all think that you were discovered by them first. After all, in their knowledge, there are only 3 supreme realm existences in the fog. Thank you, Sea Dragon City Lord. Night Sorrow thanked him sincerely and bid farewell to the Sea Dragon City Lord, Yunyi, and Xian Yin before embarking on the path back to Lu Tian Academy. Along the way, he consumed black thorn crystals and used the teleportation array to quickly return to Lu Tian Academy. After returning to his residence, the first person Night Sorrow saw was Ape Tianlai. At this moment, Ape Tianlai's injuries had completely recovered and he was in good condition. His strength was not inferior to some of the students this year. Night Sorrow immediately decided to bring him to Sea Dragon City. Then he went to look for Dancing Lady, wanting to invite her to go with him. Other than Dancing Woman, Yi Shang had another target that he was more confident in. Chapter 3191. This person was Su Lei, who had challenged him at the Mountain of Flames. At that time, Su Lei had failed to challenge him and was already considered his servant. Now that he was summoned, the other party had no reason to refuse. However, before looking for Su Lei, Night Sorrow first went to the Dancing Lady's residence. After seeing the Dancing Lady, he explained his intentions and promised to give a good reward on the basis of the Sea Dragon City Governor. Of course, this reward was for helping him to snatch the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the Dancing Lady said, in fact, I'm not interested in the reward of the Sea Dragon City Governor and your reward at all. Now that I've entered the Lu Tian Academy, with the great efforts of the clan to nurture me, I don't lack resources at all. Speaking of this, she paused and continued, but since we've already agreed to cooperate when we join the Lu Tian Academy, I'll naturally help you with this matter. And you don't need to give me any resources. You just need to help me when I need it. Sure. But you can't go against my will to help you. If I don't think it's appropriate, I won't do it. Hearing the Dancing Lady's words, Night Sorrow immediately said. He knew that the other party must have thought of what she wanted him to do. He couldn't agree to everything so foolishly. Okay, deal. Also, I have a helper here who will go with you. You've met before. After the Dancing Lady said this, she summoned a hermaphrodite male cultivator from the space grotto heaven and said, Night Sorrow, his name is Wu Hua. Wu Hua. When Night Sorrow heard this name, he immediately said it silently. The hermaphrodite male cultivator Wu Hua immediately said, Night Devil, our previous battles were all for the sake of advancing to the Lu Tian Academy. Since everyone has already come in, let's forget about all the grudges. What do you think? Wu Hua still chose to give in to Night Sorrow, the top person in this year's competition. Hearing this, Night Sorrow nodded and said, it's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Let bygones be bygones. However, if you do something against me in the future, I won't show mercy. His words were not polite, but also a warning to the hermaphrodite male cultivator Wu Hua. It showed that he was not an easy person to talk to. Of course. Being warned, the androgynous male cultivator Wu Hua immediately responds politely. Now, everything that Yi Shang had displayed had indeed intimidated them. They didn't dare to harbor any thoughts of hostility. Good. The 2 of you come with me to find Su Lei. When we find her, we'll set off together. After dealing with Whirling Woman and No Flower, Night Sorrow said immediately. He was prepared to bring the 3 of them and Yuan Tianlai to Sea Dragon City. When the time came, he would have them help him fight against the sea dragons and fight for the 8th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower. That Su Lei seems to have suffered a very serious injury. Upon hearing Yi Shang's words, Dancing Woman said, "That's right." "What happened?" Night Sorrow asked with a frown. "Here's the thing. The last time Su Lei lost to you, he was very unwilling, so he wanted to quickly increase his strength. Therefore he began to crazily accept missions. One of the missions was to enter the battlefield of the Killer Heaven. She met Lin Dongqing from the previous batch. When she was defeated, she was almost molested. In the end, I don't know what method he used, but he couldn't escape. Swaying Woman told him everything about Su Lei. There's such a thing. Where's Su Lei's residence? Take me there. No matter what, Su Lei was his servant. Night Sorrow was very unhappy that she had encountered such a thing. Good. I'll take you there. However, Su Lei's personality is rather arrogant, and he usually doesn't receive any visitors. The Swaying Woman said as she led Yi Shang to Su Lei's residence. All these years, Su Lei had always been very cold and arrogant, not interacting with anyone. That feeling of being unapproachable was similar to that of Gusu. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "She can choose not to meet others, but she has no reason to reject me as her master." When they made the bet, they had all made an oath to the Heavenly Tao. If Su Lei did not admit his loss, he would definitely be killed by the Heavenly Tao, and there would be no room for negotiation. When they arrived at Su Lei's residence and found out that Night Sorrow had come, Su Lei invited them in. When they entered Su Lei's living room, Night Sorrow immediately saw Su Lei, who was extremely weak. "You were injured by Lin Dongqing?" When Night Sorrow saw Su Lei, he immediately asked, "Yes. If I have the chance in the future, I will definitely tear him into pieces." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Su Lei immediately said resentfully. Then he told her everything that had happened that day. At that time, she was met by Lin Dongqing and was easily defeated. Lin Dongqing immediately had the intention to molest her. In a situation where Su Lei was powerless to resist, the 2 elders of her organization in her space cave were forced to act. In the end, although these 2 elders suppressed Lin Dongqing, they were defeated by the experts summoned by Lin Dongqing in the end. When they were about to be killed, the 2 of them tried their best to send Su Lei out of the battlefield of the Killer Heaven, which allowed him to survive. In the process of describing, Su Lei did not reveal the identities of the 2 elders of the organization. He only said that they were experts sent by his family to protect him. After listening to him, Night Sorrow immediately said, "If I have the chance, I will also kill him. Lin Dongqing is our common enemy. But this time I have something to ask of you." "What is it?" "Although I lost the bet to you in my current state, it should be very difficult for me to recover quickly. I'm afraid I can't help much," Su Lei said helplessly. She was still respectful towards Night Sorrow. After all, Night Sorrow had defeated him fair and square. And he did not ask her to do anything overboard. At this time when he needed help, he was more polite. "It's like this. A few days ago I went to see Dragon City." After Su Lei finished speaking, Night Sorrow told her about what happened in Sea Dragon City. He did not mention Little 8 for the time being. He also said that the Sea Dragon City Lord would help heal her injuries. Hearing that there was someone who could quickly heal her injuries, Su Lei did not hesitate at all and immediately agreed. "Okay. I'll go with you." "Very good. Then we'll set off immediately." After Yi Shang finished listening to Su Lei, he kept all of them into his own space grotto heaven and quickly returned to Sea Dragon City. After arriving at Sea Dragon City, Night Sorrow handed Su Lei to the Sea Dragon City Lord for help in treating her. He brought Dancing Woman and the others to meet Yunyi and Shen Yan. Then he told Yunyi and Shen Yan his purpose. "What? The purpose of your trip is to snatch the Eternal Devil Tower?" Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yunyi immediately said in shock. He knew that the Eternal Devil Tower was exchanged for by the Sea Dragon King with a lot of resources. Snatching it rashly would definitely cause a huge disturbance. Chapter 3192. It's like this. I have the 7th and 9th floors of the Eternal Devil Tower. If I combine them, they will become a very powerful auxiliary divine tool. Therefore, I must obtain the 8th floor. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Yunyi and Shen Yan. He felt that the 2 of them would not target him. As for the others, they were basically a community of interest, so he did not have much confidence in them. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yunyi transmitted his voice. "I see. If I had the 7th and 9th floors, I would also be interested in them. Is your purpose in coming to see Dragon City the 8th floor of the Eternal Devil Tower? Yes. The reason I came here is the 8th floor of the Eternal Devil Tower. Night Sorrow's words were equivalent to half a sentence. The other half was that although he came here for the 8th floor, his relationship with Yunyi and Shen Yan was real. Although he did not say it out loud, Yunyi naturally understood. He smiled and said, I will help you. Shen Yan also smiled and said, you have saved me twice. Not to mention this matter, even if you want to die, Shen Yan will not refuse. Thank you, brothers. Let's return to the encampment and cultivate. We will gather again when the time comes. Night Sorrow received their support and immediately prepared to return to the barracks to cultivate. At this time Yunyi said, go. Before going to the Sea of Evil, you can cultivate in peace. Shen Yan and I will take care of Bai Mei and the War Demon. Okay. Then I will have to trouble you two brothers. Night Sorrow received Yunyi and Shen Yan's assurance and immediately felt relieved. At the same time he began to think about whether he should purify the two of them in the future or continue to live together like this. This thought made him feel somewhat conflicted. After thinking for a while he still could not come up with an answer. After all, after purifying the two of them, they might not be the people in front of him anymore. The nature of his friends might change. Everyone, you have already met the City Lord. As long as you defeat the Sea Dragon in the Sea of Evil, you will receive a good reward. This reward is a waste if we do not earn it. There is no reason for us not to earn it. Night Sorrow stopped here and continued, you can cultivate for a while. Later, I will bring you to the outside world to find the Sea Dragon and fight it first. Let everyone know more about the evil Sea Dragon. I feel that you should focus on your cultivation. We can walk around the area as we wish. After all, we haven't left the academy for a long time. Hearing that Night Sorrow wanted everyone to cultivate, Dancing Woman was a bit unwilling. She and Wuhua both felt that it was not easy to come out, so they wanted to see the world. Hearing this, Night Sorrow nodded and said, that works too. But you have to be careful, Sea Dragon City is safe. However, once they left Sea Dragon City, they could encounter powerful sea dragons at any time. The 9 princes and 3 princesses of the Sea Dragon King were all very strong. Even Ao Lai, who was the weakest, could not be underestimated. You must be careful. Don't worry. We all have our own life-saving methods. If something goes wrong, we'll escape immediately. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Dancing Woman nodded in agreement. Her vertical eye looked even deeper than when she had just joined the Killer Heaven Academy. Yishang glanced at her, then at No Flower and said, I believe that none of us are weak. Then I'll enter the state of cultivation. You cultivate in peace, I'll stand guard for you. After Dancing Woman and No Flower left, Yuan Tianlai stood guard for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow entered the cultivation room and transmitted his voice to the restriction-breaking hammer, saying, how long more until the copybook is broken? Within a year we'll definitely break the seal. Although our combat power did not increase after advancing to Sky Sovereign, our ability to break the seal has increased greatly. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the restriction-breaking hammer's male hammer immediately responded. Very good. Then I'll study the 100-word mantra while waiting for you all. Night Sorrow said, then took out the 100-word mantra and studied it diligently. There were still about 10 years before entering the Sea of Evil. He wanted to improve his strength as much as possible. In terms of realm, it was already very difficult for him to improve. He could only pin his hopes on the 100-word mantra and the copybook. Studying the 100-word mantra again, Night Sorrow discovered that the word formula became more and more difficult to understand. After about 3 days he only comprehended the 4th word formula. After that, it became more and more difficult. It was no longer the rhythm of learning one word formula every 4 hours like in the beginning. After about a few years, Night Sorrow, who had not rested for a moment, successfully comprehended the 11th word formula. Just as he was studying the 12th word formula, the female hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer suddenly transmitted her voice, the copybook is broken. The seal is broken? Good, very good. Hearing the transmission, Night Sorrow immediately walked out of his cultivation state. He took the copybook with the seal broken. The copybook with the seal broken had a lot more words on it. Reading it together, it read, if you comprehend my movement technique, you will be heaven-defying. Otherwise you will be possessed by the devil. It was signed by Yen. So, there are a few words before and after it can be heaven-defying. Reading it together, you will be heaven-defying. Otherwise you will be possessed by the devil. In other words, either you learn this movement technique or you will be possessed by the devil. Yi Shang saw the words before and after, can defy the heavens, and instantly understood what this movement technique was all about. After thinking for a while, he said, entering the sea of evil and snatching the 8th level of the eternal divine tower is a matter of life and death. If you can learn this heaven-defying movement technique, the success rate will be much higher. I've decided to look down. Don't look at it casually to avoid being possessed by the devil. Anyway, after the two of us deciphered it, we didn't dare to look down after the first sentence. The restriction-breaking hammers said in unison. They didn't dare to learn the movement technique at all, so how would they dare to look down? Little 5, little 7, and little 9 were the same, so they didn't look at it either. After giving his instructions, Night Sorrow calmed down and looked down. There were no words below, only a portrait of a woman. The woman in the portrait had her eyes closed, but one could see that she had a devastatingly beautiful face. However, compared to the aura on her body, her appearance was not important at all. Although it was a portrait of a Supreme Realm expert, her aura was equally astonishing. That feeling was worlds apart from that of a Sky Supreme and a half-step to the Supreme Realm. It gave one the feeling of looking down on all living things. Are you Senior Yin? After Night Sorrow saw the portrait clearly, he suddenly had a feeling of worship in his heart. Without a doubt, the other party was the most legendary figure in the Eternal Supreme World. He was very respectful to such a sage. Do you want to learn my movement technique? While Night Sorrow was in awe, the woman in the portrait suddenly opened her eyes and said, yes. To this question, Night Sorrow answered without hesitation. I didn't expect that the movement technique would be obtained by a junior from the Eternal Supreme World. After Night Sorrow spoke, Yen immediately sighed and said, if I had known, I wouldn't have set it up. Chapter 3193. What did you set up on it? Hearing Yan's words, Night Sorrow immediately asked. He knew that since a legendary expert like Yen sighed, there must be a difficulty in front of him. After Night Sorrow finished asking, Yen replied, originally, I thought that if this book fell in the fog area, it would definitely be obtained by the cultivators in the fog area. Therefore, I set up the heart confusion curse on it. Those who want to learn the 9 steps of the heavens-defying technique will become a walking corpse without self-consciousness. At this moment, you have already begun to learn, which means that you are possessed by the heart confusion curse. What? Then is there any chance of breaking this heart confusion curse? Yi Shang asked in astonishment when he heard Yan's words. He had never thought that a legendary expert like Yen would set a trap in a book. If you learn all 9 moves of the 9 steps of the heavens-defying technique, you can break the heart confusion curse. But you are under the heart confusion curse and can't concentrate at all. You can't comprehend the 9 steps of the heavens-defying technique. This is a dead knot. On the book, Yan's shadow said helplessly. Then Senior Yen, are you unable to break it? Night Sorrow continued to ask. A legendary expert said that it was a dead knot, which made him a little worried. At this moment, he gradually felt that his mind was beginning to become chaotic, and the images of his family kept flashing in his mind. This made it impossible for him to concentrate at all. I only have some of her memories and I don't have her abilities at all, and I'm about to die. Naturally, I can't break the heart confusion curse in you. If you want to get through this, you can only rely on yourself. Yan's shadow on the book said helplessly. She was just a projection, not a clone at all, and had no combat power. Hearing that the other party was about to disappear, Night Sorrow asked, Senior, is your real body still alive? She is. Where is she now? I can feel that she is still alive, but I can't sense where she is. After saying this, Yan's shadow disappeared without waiting for Night Sorrow's reaction. This heart confusion curse is really a headache. After it disappeared, Night Sorrow's emotions became more and more chaotic. His family and friends were not the only things that flashed through his mind. Scenes of some of the opponents he had killed flashed through his mind. These opponents were each more ferocious than the last. They looked like countless evil spirits demanding his life. It made him very uncomfortable. Night Sorrow, no matter how uncomfortable you are, you must try your best to concentrate and learn the 9 steps of the Defiant. Otherwise you'll completely turn into a devil. In the Grotto Heaven, Little 7 immediately consoled Night Sorrow after seeing him being tortured by the mind-confusing curse. I'll do my best. You guys just need to wait and see. I don't have the energy to respond. Night Sorrow replied to Little 7 with difficulty and continued to look at Xiang Yan's copybook. He was clear that if he could comprehend it, he would reach the heavens in a single bound. If he couldn't fully comprehend the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps, he would be completely bedeviled and become a walking corpse. The first move of the 9 heaven-defying steps is actually very simple. After Xiang Yan's shadow disappeared, a faceless shadow appeared on the copybook and performed the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps. Although Night Sorrow couldn't concentrate, he quickly learned the first step. Then, the second and third steps were also quickly comprehended. After watching the shadow perform a set of steps, he successfully learned the 6th step. This made Night Sorrow very excited. He felt that with his comprehension, it shouldn't be difficult to fully comprehend the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps. He just needed to overcome the torture of the mind-confusing curse. However, after the shadow on the copybook finished performing the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps, Night Sorrow tried to recall and realized that he couldn't remember a single step. He had completely forgotten the 6 steps that he had just comprehended. What's going on? Could it be that the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps must be comprehended in one go? Otherwise I'll forget it? Or is this the effect of the mind-confusing curse? Realizing that he couldn't remember a single step, Night Sorrow suddenly panicked. He thought to himself, is this really like what Xiang Yan's shadow said? It's a dead knot. After pondering for a moment, Night Sorrow immediately activated the power of merit to control the mind-confusing curse in his body. This power of merit was magical. It kept devouring the mind-confusing curse. However, as the power of merit devoured, the mind-confusing curse became more and more terrifying. Soon the power of merit couldn't devour it anymore. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow tried his best to calm himself down. For the time being, he threw away all those tempting, invincible, bloody and crazy images in his mind. Taking advantage of the short moment of clarity, he looked at the shadow on the copybook again. This time, Night Sorrow saw that the shadow had become fainter. He immediately understood that there was a limit to the number of times the shadow could be used. If the number of times was reached, it would disappear completely. At that time he would definitely be powerless. Therefore he must try his best to grasp the opportunity and comprehend all the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps. First step, second step, third step. This time, Night Sorrow concentrated almost all his energy but only comprehended 7 steps. Not long after, the memory of these few steps disappeared from Night Sorrow's mind again. It disappeared again. Why is it so difficult? After failing again, Night Sorrow sighed helplessly and continued to watch. After trying 7 times in a row, Night Sorrow had only managed to comprehend 8 steps on his first try. At that moment, the shadow on the copybook was becoming fainter and fainter, almost becoming transparent. This gave him a lot of pressure. It was a test of life and death. Night Demon, are you cultivating? The city lord is here. He wants to ask if you can come out and meet him. However, just as Night Sorrow reached the most important juncture of his cultivation, Yen Tianlai, who was outside, suddenly spoke. It was the same for those who were cultivating. Suddenly they felt their vision darken. He replied, I'm at the most important juncture of my cultivation. I can't see anyone now. Just as he replied, the shadow on the copybook turned completely transparent. He couldn't see it even if he activated the sea serpent's eye. Is the heavens trying to kill me? Night Sorrow sighed helplessly when he couldn't see the shadow on the copybook. The disappearance of the shadow on the copybook meant that he definitely couldn't learn the 9 steps of the defiant heavens from the copybook. The mind confusion curse couldn't be removed. Since it's not convenient for the Night Demon to see me, I'll go back. We'll talk about this next time. After Night Sorrow finished his reply, the Sea Dragon City Lord didn't get angry. He replied and prepared to leave. At that moment, Night Sorrow hurriedly walked out of the secret chamber and said, Sir City Lord, please wait. What's the matter? What's wrong with you? The Sea Dragon City Lord turned around and glanced at Night Sorrow. He immediately realized that something was wrong. I won't hide it from you, Sir City Lord. I've been hit by the mind confusion curse on a copybook. I'm afraid I'll be possessed soon. I'll become a walking corpse that can't be controlled by myself. Night Sorrow replied helplessly. Chapter 3194. Now that the phantom on the copybook had completely disappeared, it was absolutely impossible to comprehend the 9 steps of heaven defying through the copybook. And the mind confusion curse was set up by a legendary expert like Yen. Night Sorrow felt that his situation was not optimistic. Mind confusion curse? Hearing the words mind confusion curse, The Sea Dragon City Lord was stunned and fell into deep thought. City Lord, what's wrong with you? Seeing the Sea Dragon City Lord like this, Night Sorrow immediately asked. The Sea Dragon City Lord pondered for a while before saying, I've heard of this mind confusion curse before. It seems to involve someone close to me. Someone close to you? Are you sure? When Night Sorrow heard the Sea Dragon City Lord say this, he immediately guessed and thought to himself, could it be that this Sea Dragon City Lord and Senior Yen are old acquaintances? Yes, I'm very sure. The Sea Dragon City Lord looked at Night Sorrow and suddenly sent a voice transmission. I remember that she seems to be my master. Your master? Hearing the other party's voice transmission, Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. Yes, my master. In fact, I'm a divine weapon. After being in the fog for a long time, I've given birth to my own intelligence. The Sea Dragon City Lord said and asked, what's with that mind confusion curse of yours? How did you get it? It was a senior who left the 9 steps of heaven defying on the copybook, but set up the difficult problem of the mind confusion curse. If you can't learn the 9 steps of heaven defying, you won't be able to remove the mind confusion curse on you. This is a dead knot. And I waited until the phantom on the copybook disappeared, but I still didn't succeed in comprehending the 9 steps of heaven defying. Night Sorrow said helplessly. At this moment, his emotions were getting more and more chaotic. The scene in his mind was completely out of his control. It was so uncomfortable that he wanted to self-destruct. When the Sea Dragon City Lord heard this, he said excitedly, 9 steps of heaven defying. Yes, this is the movement technique that my master liked to use back then. The person who left the copybook is my master. Do you know who my master is? It's Senior Yen. If what the City Lord said is true, then your master is Senior Yen. Night Sorrow's mind was in a complete mess. It was very difficult for him to say these words. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon City Lord immediately came to a realization and recalled many things. He said, right? My master is Yen. I am the heaven-defying sword that she personally forged. My name is Heaven Defying. At this moment, Night Sorrow was completely speechless. He had been tortured beyond recognition by the mind confusion curse. At this time, the Sea Dragon City Lord, also known as the Heaven-Defying Sword, asked, will you be able to remove the mind confusion curse if you learn the Heaven-Defying 9 steps? Yes. Night Sorrow said with difficulty. At this moment he couldn't even speak a complete sentence. Blood even began to seep out of his opened eyes, making him look extremely ferocious. That's good. Master comprehended the heaven-defying 9 steps from my sword's scars. So can I? Watch carefully. The heaven-defying sword used the heaven-defying 9 steps outside the cultivation room. Seeing him use the 9 steps of the defiant heaven, although Night Sorrow was very uncomfortable, he still followed and learned. The first time failure. The second time it still didn't work. 4 or 5 times in a row he comprehended the 8th step. At this time the heaven-defying sword reminded, the heaven-defying 9 steps was researched from my sword scars. And the 9th step is an unconventional sword move. You have to bring your own into the sword to successfully comprehend and use it. In other words, you need to transform into a sword. Otherwise, you will definitely not be able to use it. So that's how it is. Unconventional sword move and transforming into a sword. Although Night Sorrow's mind was incomparably chaotic, hearing these 2 reminders, he immediately had an epiphany. When the heaven-defying sword used the heaven-defying 9 steps the next time, he immediately comprehended the 9th step. Heaven-defying 9 steps. Then he shouted loudly and began to use it outside the cultivation room. The first 8 steps were used in human form and the last move was to transform into a sword. It was successfully used. As Night Sorrow fully executed the heaven-defying 9 steps, the mind confusion curse that was suppressing him also disappeared. Night Sorrow thanks the heaven-defying City Lord. Successfully dispelling the mind confusion curse, Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his thanks to the heaven-defying sword. For the other party to be able to execute the heaven-defying 9 steps, it was undoubtedly Yan's divine weapon. He was still very respectful to it and was not prepared to use a fake name to communicate in the future. It should be me thanking you. I, the heaven-defying sword, have been silent in Sea Dragon City for millions of years, but I don't know who I am. Now that I got your hint, not only do I remember my name, I also remember who my master is. This is a great thing for me. The heaven-defying sword said excitedly and then said, in the future, don't call me City Lord anymore, call me Senior Heaven-Defying. Do you know the whereabouts of my master, Yen? No one in the world knows the whereabouts of Senior Yen. but I know that she is still alive and should be coming into being soon. After all, the fog area will launch an attack on the eternal supreme world again several thousand years later. At that time she will definitely come out to turn the tide. Night Sorrow said all the things that he knew. Hearing this, the heaven-defying sword said excitedly, I remember now. In the last great calamity I was left here and fell to heavenly supreme grade because my master was fighting with 2 supreme realm experts. In the end, she was no match for them and could only escape helplessly. After that, the heaven-defying sword continued, you said that the great calamity will come here in a few thousand years. Are you sure about this matter? Yes. This is something that many people in the fog area know. There is not much time left for the eternal supreme world. Night Sorrow said with certainty. When the heaven-defying sword heard this, he thought for a moment and said, then I have to quickly recover my strength. This time, I have something to do in the Sea of Evil. Something to do? Senior heaven-defying sword, what do you mean? Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. He heard the other party's words. To tell you the truth, in recent years, I have been in contact with the Sea Dragon King of the Sea of Evil because I am plotting to obtain the Sea-Calming Divine Iron in the Sea of Evil. If the Sea-Calming Divine Iron is devoured by me, then my grade can be restored to half-step to Supreme Realm. The improvement is huge. The heaven-defying sword said to Night Sorrow. So this is the reason why the Sea Dragon City is in contact with the Sea of Evil. Hearing this, Night Sorrow suddenly understood something. Thinking of this, he felt that it was not important for the Sea Dragon City Master to find so many experts. You are right. If I am not clear about my identity and the impending great calamity, I will definitely be the same as before. I will only care about the sparring with the Sea Dragon. But this time I am prepared to attack the Sea-Calming Divine Iron. The so-called sparring no longer matters. At this point, the heaven-defying sword looked at Night Sorrow and said, this time, the Sea of Evil will definitely be turned upside down by me. At that time, danger will be everywhere. You and your friends can choose not to go. Chapter 3195. Senior heaven-defying, no matter how chaotic the Sea of Evil is this time, I will go. Night Sorrow said slowly, to be honest, my goal is the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower. This time, I want to take advantage of the chaos to get it. I see. After going to the Sea of Evil, if there is a chance, I will help you get it. Heaven-defying said and continued, that's right. As someone from the Eternal Supreme Realm, how did you manage to hide in the foggy area unscathed? Night Sorrow has merit power on him, he can resist and purify the fog. Night Sorrow did not hide this matter and said directly. Hearing this, heaven-defying said, I have been in the fog for so many years and have been seriously corroded by the fog. After the formation of the Sea of Evil is over, can you help me purify the fog? I can't let my master fight alone. Good. Night Sorrow will definitely help Senior Heaven-defying. Night Sorrow nodded and said. To him, Heaven-defying is willing to return to the Eternal Supreme World, that is a great thing, he is naturally willing to help. Very good. Next we will plan the trip to the Sea of Evil. At that time I will let Yun Yi and Shen Yen help you. Heaven-defying said and continued, originally I came to find you this time because I have something to say. But now there is no need for that. Senior Heaven-defying, do you have a map of the Sea of Evil? If you have a map we can plan early. Night Sorrow felt that to plan before taking action, he must know himself and the enemy. I have a map, but it is drawn based on some of my memories. It is not very comprehensive. After all, with my identity, it is not suitable for me to travel in the Sea of Evil. Heaven-defying took out a simple map and handed it to Night Sorrow. The Sea of Evil has always been a forbidden area for cultivators, so the map is not very detailed. Looking at the map, Night Sorrow said, to be honest, this map is not very useful. It is not of much help to our plan. I have an idea. That is to choose some reliable people to enter the Sea of Evil and secretly set up some teleportation arrays. When we reach the Sea Dragon Imperial City we will set up some more. Once we get what we want, we can activate the teleportation portal and teleport out. Oh? Why don't you set up a teleportation array from Sea Dragon Imperial City to Sea Dragon City? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the Sea Dragon City Lord asked with some puzzlement. Sea Dragon Imperial City was not too far away from Sea Dragon City. It was safe to build a teleportation array. I feel that after the war starts, Sea Dragon Imperial City will most likely activate a large formation to block the use of the teleportation formation. Therefore, most of the teleportation arrays set up in the Imperial City were not useful. Therefore, they needed to set up more traps in the periphery. This is probably the principle of a crafty rabbit having 3 burrows. Night Sorrow explained his reasons. He felt that since he was going to do this, he should be more prepared. Yes, that makes sense. In that case, I think we can set up a teleportation formation in the Sea of Evil to other areas. Now that I've obtained the item, I don't have to return to Sea Dragon City. Heaven Defying felt that what Night Sorrow said made sense. He simply prepared to teleport to other areas and not give the Sea Dragon King a chance to chase after them. Hearing this, Night Sorrow fell silent. He knew that if he made such a choice, the Sea Dragon City on the surface would definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. Are you worried about the cultivators of Sea Dragon City? They are all people from the fog area. Isn't it better to be slaughtered? What's there to worry about? Seeing Night Sorrow fall silent, Heaven Defying immediately realized what was going on with him. From the standpoint of the eternal supreme world, it is indeed a good thing for them to be slaughtered. But they were slaughtered because of us. This matter makes me feel a little apologetic. Night Sorrow said. This went against his Tao heart. How about this? I will leave a clone in Sea Dragon City. When we head to the Sea of Evil, we will take everyone into the Space Grotto Heaven. Take them away. Let Sea Dragon City become an empty city. After listening to Night Sorrow, Heaven Defying thought for a moment and said, That's good too. Night Sorrow nodded and then transmitted his voice to Heaven Defying. Senior Heaven Defying, after reaching the Sea of Evil, you will definitely face the Sea Dragon King. I wonder if you know the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique? Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique? That seems to be Master's ultimate skill. I don't know it. Heaven Defying replied truthfully. I will teach you. This Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique is very useful against dragons. Night Sorrow recalled his previous battle. At that time he used the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique and summoned a huge Kuan-Peng and easily defeated his opponent. With that, he led Heaven Defying into the cultivation room and taught him the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique. Very good. After learning this Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique, I should not be at a disadvantage when fighting the Sea Dragon King. The only problem now is that there are too few of us left. We are far inferior to the Sea Dragon of the Sea of Evil. Therefore we have to end the battle quickly. After we succeed, we will immediately escape. After obtaining the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique, Heaven Defying did not have Night Sorrow's comprehension ability and did not immediately master it. But he is confident that he can master it in the next 10 years. After he finished speaking, Night Sorrow continued. After we get the item, Senior Heaven Defying can take everyone in and use Heaven Defying 9 steps to escape. Find the teleportation array and leave directly. But for now, we still need to find some people to go to the Sea of Evil and make arrangements in advance. Yes. But there are definitely spies of the Sea Dragons in the Sea Dragon City. It won't be easy to keep this a secret. Tian and I said and then asked, Do you and your friends have the confidence to complete this matter? We can only say that we will do our best because we don't know what the situation is over there. Night Sorrow said truthfully. Then you and your friends Yunyi and Shen Yan go together. Try to set up some teleportation arrays at the edge of the Sea of Evil. And check if it is possible to go to the depths of the Sea of Evil. If it is safe, set up some teleportation arrays. Heaven Defying said and explained, As for me, if I enter rashly, I will be discovered by the Sea Dragon King. That will affect the overall situation. Alright. Leave this matter to me. But first, we have to set up a few teleportation arrays in the secret area of the Sea Dragon City. If we encounter a strong enemy in the Sea of Evil, we can use the teleportation arrays to escape. Night Sorrow said slowly. Alright. Follow me to the City Lord's secret room. Just nice, you can take some useful resources from there. The Heaven Defying Bead said and led Yi Shang to his secret chamber. This secret chamber was not only his cultivation room, but also his treasure trove. All the resources that he had accumulated over the years are all inside. After entering the secret room, Heaven Defying looked at Night Sorrow and said, Take whatever you need. Chapter 3196. Collect as I wish? Then Night Sorrow won't be courteous. Setting up the teleportation array indeed requires a lot of materials. In addition, I want to set up some array formations at the location of the teleportation array. This all requires materials. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he collected all kinds of materials in the secret room. At this time, Tian and I said, don't just collect materials. In the secret room, there are also resources that can be used for cultivation as well as blackthorn crystals, talismans, etc. Collect whatever you need. After you are done collecting, I will keep these things in my space. After all, I probably won't return to Sea Dragon City in the future. Alright. I won't be courteous with the things I need. Night Sorrow did not stand on ceremony with Tian and I. Both sides exchanged to learn Tian and I 9 steps and Supreme Dragon subduing technique. Compared to these two absolute arts, the resources in front of him were nothing. After spending about 4 hours, Night Sorrow collected all the resources he needed. He found Tian and I and said, Senior Tian and I have collected all the resources I need. Next, I can start setting up the teleportation array. Alright. No one can enter here. You can set it up as you wish. Tian and I nodded. At this time, although he had been in human form, his body still had the sharpness of a sword. Alright. In addition, I will set up an array formation around the teleportation array. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he set up the teleportation array in the secret room. After finishing, he set up a 5-bull array around it. After the array was set up, Night Sorrow looked at Tian and I and said, Senior Tian and I, what needs to be set up has been completed. Next, I will go to the Sea of Evil with my friends. You can cultivate the Supreme Dragon subduing technique in peace. Go. Take this jade pendant. If you encounter an irresistible danger, crush it and I will immediately appear. Tian and I took out a white jade pendant and handed it to Night Sorrow. Receiving the cold jade pendant, Night Sorrow said, I will try my best to be careful. Unless it is a last resort, I will not crush it. Go. Tian and I did not say anything else and let Night Sorrow leave with a sentence. He cultivated the Supreme Dragon subduing technique in the secret room. This absolute art was definitely a trump card against the Sea Dragon King. He had to learn it. However, the heaven-defying bead was, after all, a divine weapon that had gained sentience. Its comprehension ability was not as high as Night Sorrow's, so its progress was slower. While Tian and I was learning the Supreme Dragon subduing technique, Night Sorrow gathered Whirling Lady, Su Lei, No Flower, and Ape Tian Lai. I finally have something to do. After Night Sorrow explained the purpose of his trip, Dancing Woman revealed a smile on her face. During these days in Sea Dragon City, she felt extremely bored and suffocated. Everyone be careful. The sea dragons of the evil sea are extremely powerful. We should not attack them unless we have no other choice. While flying towards the Sea of Evil, he said to Su Lei, How are your injuries? Su Lei had the bloodline of Yu Jia and was very talented in battle. He should be even more powerful than Dancing Woman and could be considered a very powerful helper. I've almost fully recovered. I should be able to fight against ordinary Middle Heavenly Sovereigns. After a period of interaction, Su Lei was no longer so repulsed by Night Sorrow, so he replied. However, the tone of her voice was still the same as before, and it didn't sound very friendly. Very good. If we encounter a sea dragon and can't avoid it, we must kill it quickly. We must kill him as soon as possible. We can't expose ourselves. Yishang added. He then glanced at the others and said, If we can get this done quietly, our journey to the Ocean of Evil will be very smooth. After it's over, I will not mistreat everyone. You don't have to be so courteous. Since we have already arrived here, we will not be calculative about the reward. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Whirling Lady replied, You just need to remember that you owe us a favor this time. Everyone, I will not forget this favor. Don't worry. After Night Sorrow said this, he reminded everyone, We are already very close to the Sea of Evil. Let's lower our flying altitude and sneak in quietly. Okay. I will scout the way. After Whirling Lady finished speaking, she opened the vertical eye on her forehead and observed the Sea of Evil in front of them. She was looking for a way to enter the Sea of Evil for everyone. Night Sorrow said, I will be on guard. If I find any enemies, I will alert everyone immediately. After that, he opened the eye of the sea serpent and observed the surroundings. We will try our best to suppress our auras. After Yen Tianlai said this, he suppressed his aura and became similar to that of an ordinary person. Although the others did not say anything, they did the same. They all knew that in the Sea of Evil, there was a Sea Dragon King that they could not fight against, as well as many other dangerous existences. No one dared to be careless. Everyone follow me. I have found a good route. Whirling Lady, who was holding a map, said as she looked at the situation in the sea. Let's go. The others immediately followed her into the Sea of Evil. As soon as they entered the Sea of Evil, they felt an evil aura rushing towards them. This aura contained an extremely crazy and bloodthirsty aura. Although they had lived in the foggy area for a long time, they were still not used to it. Whirling Lady frowned and said, if we stay in this environment for a long time, we will definitely be affected by this aura and our minds will become extremely violent. That will be detrimental to our cultivation. We must speed up our operation this time. Yes. We can't stay here for long. Let's end this quickly. No Flower also said very uncomfortably. The others' expressions were also very solemn. Although the aura of the foggy area could also make people crazy, there was a limit. The Sea of Evil was completely different. It would make people lose control. Let's get as close to Sea Dragon Imperial City as possible and set up a few teleportation arrays around it. Then we can leave. At this moment, Night Sorrow explained and continued, let's hurry up and move forward. In fact, he was not afraid of this evil aura because he had the power of merit in his body. However, he could not use the power of merit to help anyone other than Yen Tianlai. Attention. 10,000 miles ahead, there is a sea dragon undergoing tribulation. We must avoid it immediately. As soon as Night Sorrow finished speaking, Whirling Lady, who had been observing the front, reminded him. In front of them was a sea dragon who had just advanced to Sky Supreme and was undergoing tribulation. His strength was definitely weaker than Night Sorrow and the others. If they went forward, it was very likely that they would be able to kill the other party instantly. However, a sea dragon's tribulation would cause a lot of commotion and might alarm other sea dragons. Therefore, they had to leave this place immediately. Not good. There are many sea dragons rushing over nearby. We have to hide on the spot or we will definitely be exposed. At this moment, Night Sorrow reminded them silently. He realized that the commotion caused by the sea dragon's tribulation had indeed attracted many sea dragons. If they did not leave and hide, they would definitely be discovered. Chapter 3197. Where can we hide at such a close distance? No Flower asked. 4 cultivators, they could be discovered at any time from thousands of miles away. It would be very difficult to hide. Everyone don't panic. Follow me to the bottom of the sea. I will set up a concealment array. It should be able to last for a while. After Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to everyone, he took the lead and flew to the bottom of the sea. After reaching the bottom, he set up a concealment array. This kind of concealment array was not enough for ordinary heavenly sovereigns to see through. If someone looked carefully, they would definitely be exposed. But at this time, the sea dragon and the other creatures of the Sea of Evil should be focused on the sea dragon. He felt that it would not be so easy to be discovered. This array can't even hide from my detection. Is it safe? Because the concealment array was not perfect, Dancing Lady immediately questioned. The array's quality is limited, but we have no other choice now. Everyone hide your aura and wait here in peace. It's best if we are not discovered. If we are discovered, we will be killed immediately. Our infiltration into the Sea of Evil must not be exposed. Otherwise, it will affect the overall situation. For now, this is the only way. Dancing Lady had no other choice. She could only hide her aura and hide in the array with Night Sorrow and the others. However, she was different from the others. Her eyes were very special. Without releasing the power of her divine soul, she could still detect the surroundings. Together with Night Sorrow, she alerted everyone. In the next hour, everyone waited quietly in the array. Loud rumbling sounds came from outside. Obviously, there was a battle. Why are the people outside fighting? Aren't they all from the Sea of Evil? Yen Tianlai, who could not see outside, asked curiously. The cultivators outside are besieging the sea dragon. At this point in the battle, the sea dragon has been killed, and even its flesh and blood have been absorbed. The competition in the Sea of Evil is far more intense than we imagined. The aura of the Sea of Evil really drives people crazy. They even want to kill their own kind. Hearing Night Sorrow's description, Yen Tianlai frowned. Dancing Lady smiled disdainfully and said, "Isn't it the same in the foggy area? Plundering resources is the purest law of survival." That is indeed the case. Where there are cultivators, there will be fighting. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he waited for about 2 hours and said, "The storm outside has already passed, let's go out and continue." He was lucky that he wasn't discovered this time. We'll have to be more careful next time. Don't worry. The matter before their eyes was already a wake-up call for everyone. No one will continue to be careless. After she finished speaking, she continued to lead the way. Night Sorrow chose to bring up the rear. Under the guidance of the two of them, the team kept getting closer to the center of the Sea of Evil. After traveling for about a day, Night Sorrow suddenly said, "Everyone wait." The corals in this area were very dense. It was the perfect place to set up a teleportation formation. I'll go make some arrangements. Good. We will protect you. Whirling Woman, who was constantly observing the surroundings, responded immediately. Wu Hua and Yen Tianlai also looked over. As for Su Lei, he was a little cold and arrogant. He didn't talk much with the others. This is the first time I've seen pure black corals. The corals in the Sea of Evil were dozens of times taller than the corals in the ordinary sea. After entering, Night Sorrow felt as if he had walked into a huge maze. After observing the surroundings, he couldn't help but sigh. The corals in front of him were too magnificent, but because they were black, they looked a little strange. Night Sorrow. I feel that this place is a little strange. But I can't tell what's going on. Just as Night Sorrow was choosing a location to set up the 5-bull formation and the teleportation formation, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer suddenly reminded him. Is it a little strange? Let me take a closer look. The reminders from the restriction-breaking hammer and the various parts of the Eternal Divine Tower were not groundless. After Night Sorrow responded, he used the Sea Serpent's eye and the power of his godly soul to investigate the surroundings. After doing so, he suddenly felt his scalp tingle. It turned out that in every coral, there was a kind of disgusting black leech. These leeches were basically at the level of a lower heavenly supreme, and their numbers were terrifying. If not 10 million, there were at least 8 million. We can't set up a formation here. Let's leave immediately. After discovering these black leeches, Night Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to everyone, asking them to leave together. You came to our territory and still want to escape? Let me tell you, all the cultivators who dare to approach here have become blood food. Just as Night Sorrow and the others were about to quickly leave the coral, a cold voice suddenly sounded from the coral. Following that, the cold voice sounded. The black leeches hidden in the coral swarmed out in tens of thousands. Why are there leeches in the sea? And there are so many of them. Seeing millions of leeches appear, Wu Hua roared with a headache. Swaying Lady said worriedly, with such a big formation, we will definitely be exposed. To them, fighting was not the most terrifying thing. Alarming the sea dragon was the most terrifying thing. Su Lei, who had not spoken much, said coldly, we won't be exposed. The voice just now has already said it clearly. Cultivators who dare to approach here will basically become blood food. Therefore, under normal circumstances, no cultivators will approach. If we can kill the leech army in front of us, we can be considered to have a base. Yes, that should be the case. Let's attack together and get rid of these leeches. Their individual strength is not strong, but they have the advantage in numbers. We can't be careless. Night Sorrow agreed and took out the golden heavenly halberd that had been dyed black. He directly attacked the leech army with Raging Flames Demon, wanting to use the flames to burn these leeches to death. As for the seawater of the Sea of Evil, it was unable to extinguish the flames. Hehe, you want to destroy my leech army with such flames? What a joke. At this moment, the cold voice sounded again. Along with his laughter, everyone immediately felt a strong sense of oppression. At this moment, Su Lei judged, the owner of this voice is at least a middle heavenly supreme, and his strength is not weak. Not only do we have to deal with the leeches, but we also have to be wary of his sneak attacks. She could not determine where the owner of this voice was hiding. Therefore she reminded them. At this moment, Night Sorrow suddenly said, you guys deal with the leeches together. I will fight the owner of this voice. There shouldn't be any sea dragon nearby that likes to come close. Everyone can use your secret techniques to your heart's content. When the voice spoke again, he immediately found its location. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.